Fun part's back on. The fun part of the beef is back on. What's up? You're watching Hive Mind, the most grounded show on the internet. My name is Riley Zondervan, my beefy co-host Graydon.
I want no part of it.
So the dust is beginning to settle, at least on the music part of this Drake versus Kendrick Lamar beef.
I hope so.
And boy, did it move fast. 9 songs over the past month.
Uh-huh.
And let me just say, as a YouTuber, this one was for the streamers.
Yeah, low-key.
You had to be live. We don't do that.
No.
At least not in that context.
Nope.
We were not there commentating the thing like everybody else was, but we wanted to give our opinion, our take, and see kind of how it went down from start to finish.
And I feel like there's more to come, so
I guess we'll have to see.
we will.
So let's go back to when it was just sizzling in a pot.
When someone flicked a cigarette onto a pile of straw in the Redwood National Forest.
And honestly, I didn't realize there was that much dry brush around.
Yeah, it's been a drought.
Yeah, I look now and I'm like, oh, well, there was a pile, there was a pile, there was a pile. But what really ignited it seemed to be First Person Shooter,
Yes.
which is a Drake song featuring J. Cole from his last album, For All the Dogs.
Which at the time, I can say, seemed like harmless fun.
Oh, it was a great song, great video.
Big as the what?
And I will say, Drake's video had leaked. I don't say it was big, but I don't know about big as the Super Bowl.
Please, no.
You know? So what we have learned now is that Drake maybe asked Kendrick Lamar to be a part of this song.
Not a good move, Drizzy.
If you listen to certain parts of this song, it seems like J. Cole may have been referencing that Kendrick was supposed to be on this song. Almost rapping as if Kendrick was on the song.
The idea there is that Kendrick heard the original verses and then turned it down, and then they rewrote their verses.
That's rumors, so I'm not sure.
Hearsay, hearsay.
But he does say, like, is it K. Dot, is it Aubrey, or me? We're the big three, like we started the league, which is a reference to Ice Cube's basketball league, the Big Three. Yeah.
Come on, Ice Cube.
What about Ice Cube?
I could be in it.
Oh, in Big Three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to hearsay, I'm going to be saying a lot of stuff that were rumors as if they were facts during this. So I'm going to need a red light next to me.
I don't know if I'm going to have time to edit that in.
Okay.
So you guys can just take everything he said with a barrel assault.
And do not sue me.
Nothing we say here is 100% facts.
Yes.
We're saying what we may believe to be true, and we might not even believe it to be true. It's just talking about what happened the way we see it. The Spider-Man meme is me looking at Drake, saying J. Cole and Drake, we're the same. You've seen the meme.
The Spider-Man.
Yeah,
meme.
it's Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man.
I would never mistake J. Cole for Drake in public. Maybe in private if the room was, I don't know, poorly lit.
Yeah, I don't think it's about how they look. It's more about, like, their position in the game.
Because they are both spiders.
Nope.
Wicked webs they weave.
I don't know. All right, whatever.
Okay.
That brings us to Like That, which is a song by Future and Metro Boomin from their album We Don't Trust You,
Right.
which featured Kendrick Lamar. This was an unlisted feature. It was a surprise.
And if you didn't know the beef was coming, or you didn't feel the rumblings after this song, it was kind of on like Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. It also was a huge surprise to me, and I think many others.
Yeah.
The only rumblings we really had were a Metro Boomin and Drake feud leading up to this.
Yep.
Metro and Drake had been throwing kind of shots at each other because 21 Savage and Drake's album, Her Loss, was receiving more accolades than Metro Boomin's album,
Yeah.
which he expressed some kind of like frustration with.
Basically that Drake's like the industry darling, despite everyone or the streets listening to Metro's album, it wasn't getting the recognition he thought it deserved.
And also Drake being taken off of the previous Metro Boomin album on the song Trance with Travis Scott. That seemed to cause a little tiff between them.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Drake's obviously his live stream of him being like the tweet and deleters, you know.
And I Need a Max Ween.
That was in there as well.
And that could be in reference to something yet we do not understand.
Yeah, I think it's just his crypto character.
It could have some darker meaning.
I guess so.
I just want you guys to look into everything. Don't leave any page unturned. I got a lot of notes to get through today, and I Need a Max Ween is circled on all of them.
Okay.
Mostly it's pictures of my rendition of that.
of the character.
Yes.
Yeah, they are nice.
Thank you.
It's kind of a reimagining though.
I have like a scrappy anime style.
Yeah, it's kind of a scary, scratchy style. Yeah.
All right, well, first real shots are thrown here for sure.
What I think is really funny about this song is if you're just listening to the Future verse, just for this to be like the song, listen to that Future verse. It's so funny.
Yeah.
He's like, if I lose a carrot, she might choke. Ball like I won a championship game. Catchiest part of the song, by the way. Beat is incredible. I think that really helps with kickstarting this into high gear. Is like that beat is one of the best beats I've heard in a long time.
Especially at this point in the beef, before it's gotten to like a third-degree burn type level, there's a great skill in presenting something that's so musical and so enjoyable that people that aren't even really privy to what's going on just enjoy it.
Yeah, it went #1 for weeks, not just because of the beef, because the song is really good. You can have that little "if she ain't mine." I think he says you can have that little "she ain't mine." I think Genius might have this just one word off, and also he doesn't say a word there.
Right.
He kind of like punctuates there. But this is kind of credence to the idea that the beef between Future and Drake started over a woman. Who knows? The average person listening to the music has no idea. It's just what we've kind of been made to believe by the internet. What I think is important here is just this line here where it says dudes from the bottom really like that, if you like that. So this is kind of like throwing the shot at Drake, the started from the bottom thing.
Right.
Of just being like, you're not really like that. You're not really, dare I say, like us, meaning me and Kendrick, which we'll obviously get to later.
We don't trust you, not like us. Yep.
If Young Metro don't trust you,
they'll shoot Drake. I hope not.
Yeah. These lines from Kendrick's verse, dude's clicking up, but cannot be legit, no 40 water. I just like this line.
Yeah.
It's awesome because of E40 and then 40 being Drake's producer. It's just another one of those, like, as Drake put it, quintuple entendres of Kendrick's. It's probably more of like a triple, but
he can't help himself. And we learned that along this way. He's just too good at it. He's too good at rapping.
He's unbelievable at rapping. That's what one of the main things we've learned from all of this.
And I'll say it. I think it's fucked up.
What do you mean?
I think it's fucked up how good he is at it.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty insane.
It put us all in a mental prison for a week.
Everybody was researching like conspiracy theorists. Honestly, it did. I will get into kind of the implications of all of this. It did make Kendrick's fan base look insane and annoying. But I've come around to realize like there's enough to dig through that I understand people looking at the Haley Joel Osteen mistake and being like, there's a reason for that mistake. There has to be.
There's never been mistakes.
Kendrick's never made a mistake. And then obviously kicking it off, fuck sneak dissing first person shooter. I hope they came with 3 switches. Basically saying, I'm not sneak dissing anymore. You guys were sneak dissing on that song, first person shooter, which I also am like, is that title meant to be like Kendrick's considered the GOAT first person shooter? And the video game reference, obviously, but being like, this is us shooting at the first person.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. I guess it works. If it works, it was meant to be done, is what I've learned throughout this beef too.
And also, that's Drake's song. He got to name it. J. Cole said first-person shooter mode, but still, I think Drake got to name the song and might have been like, all right, first-person shooter.
Yeah.
And I hope they came with 3 switches, obviously being the double entendre for a gun, and then maybe like 3 beat switches, because there's only 1 beat switch on first-person shooter.
Right.
So.
Motherfuck the big 3, it's just big me. And we learn later in this beef that Kendrick is not so big.
Yeah, like, I mean, physically, he's short.
A lot came out about both these guys during this beef.
That wasn't like a secret.
He has always been larger than life to me.
Yeah, but he's also been physically short his whole career. It's not like he got shorter.
The ruse was bamboozed, as they say.
I don't know. You seem a little deep in on that. I don't know.
I am on edge.
This line also very important. Your best work is Light Pack. Prince outlives Mike Jack. I think it's a really masterful way to kind of like position them both, because historically Michael Jackson, the big pop figure, was always more popular than Prince, but Prince's music more influential. But also Michael Jackson posthumous feature that Drake used on Scorpion, meaning that he had to buy an unused feature of Michael Jackson and put it on his song. Kendrick actually performed with Prince on stage because Prince lived longer than Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson didn't say, hey, I want to be on a Drake song.
Right.
Prince said, I want to be on stage performing with Kendrick.
I want to be on a Drake song. That's more how Michael Jackson talked. And again, Kendrick is painting himself just in the ultimately more creative corner of this ring.
Yeah, at least musically, that is the angle, is like, I make better music than you do.
He's almost like, you can be Mike Jack, you know?
Yeah.
I don't care. You always are claiming that, and that's fine. Let me tell you the history of these actual 2 artists, and Michael Jackson was the pop guy.
The big haymaker here being, for all your dogs getting buried, that's a K with all these 9s, he gonna see Pet Cemetery. There's a reference to For All the Dogs, which is Drake's last album, and then obviously there's a lot of of double entendres here about guns and, you know, the movie Pet Sematary.
A Stephen King book. Don't think that really has anything to do with it here, but again, no stone unturned.
I think it might.
Yeah, and in that movie, if you bury a dead dog in that pet cemetery, it comes back to life.
So he might have buried a dead dog here, but he's going to come back to life.
And when it comes back to life, it's all sorts of fucked up. It's not the loving family pet that you once enjoyed.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, and now we might see a stray dog.
Yeah.
We might see a stray dog on the loose.
Kendrick, why?
Pay attention to the dog whistles throughout this beef, by the way.
Yep.
There's a lot of dog whistling, and that's all I'm going to say.
All right, to really one of the strongest punches thrown in this beef. Jermaine joins the fight.
It's weird because, yeah, I mean, unlike that, Kendrick goes at both of them, but he's really going at Drake. You can just feel it. You can see it. You can hear it. Like that is not intended to be equal shots for J. Cole and Drake.
No.
And that's because there's been brewing beef and a lack of respect between Kendrick and Drake for a long time. And what J. Cole does here, I think this is the reason it took Drake so long to drop Push-Ups, is because he was like, well, Cole's gonna go do his thing. And he did, but like, this is almost not even worth talking about within the beef, but it's like a quick footnote is basically J. Cole comes back with an album called Might Delete Later. It has a song on it called 7 Minute Drill. This is directed just directly at Kendrick. Your first shit was a classic. Your last shit was tragic. Your second shit put dudes to sleep, but they gassed it. Your third shit was massive, and that was your prime. Basically saying like, Good Kid, Mad City. Classic. Your second shit, To Pimp a Butterfly, everybody gassed it even though it was a sleepy, boring album.
A sleepy album.
It's so good. It's like a classic. Everybody knows it's Kendrick's best album in my opinion. J. Cole didn't even mean what he was saying. You could hear it in his voice. And then of course, a couple days later at Dreamville Fest, he goes on stage, apologizes, said he's getting this taken off streaming, says Kendrick is a great artist, asked the crowd to cheer for that. All in all, very embarrassing in the moment, but it comes out on the other side just looking smart and strategic to get himself the fuck out of the way because of where this was about to go.
Yeah, it also just makes you think that like someone tipped him off. Someone showed him a photo of him in the future tied up with his family being hung from a helicopter and he's like, oh, I don't want that to happen. I'm going to bow out now while I still can.
And I think that is Kendrick giving him that tip off, being like, hey, listen, I know you didn't mean what you said. It's fine. I'm telling you, get out of the way. This is going to get darker than you realize.
Yeah.
Remove yourself. I saw some conspiracy theorist people just saying that J. Cole did all of this just to lead up to his album, The Fall Off. Like he's acting out a crashing out in the public square sort of thing, being like, oh my God. And then J. Cole falls off and then releases his album, The Fall Off, which will be, you know, a great album or whatever.
Country album, maybe.
I doubt it. I doubt he's going to do a country album. It's probably going to be a rap album.
Could be. I can't believe someone like dropped an entire diss record and got to delete it. And a week later, people were like, the smartest motherfucker in this whole thing is that guy we were clowning a week ago.
Even when he did it though, you know, hip hop can be like a very competitive sport and feel like it has all these rules that are akin to, you know, boxing or any major sport.
Golf.
There's all these different rules that go with it. And this felt like it broke some of those rules. But as like a human being, when I saw J. Cole do that on stage, I was like, I relate to that. That's a very human thing to be like, ah, fuck, I said something I shouldn't have. And it's very mature to be like, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I know this might make me look weak. He was ready for all of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very relatable thing. If you just step back from like what we're looking at, it's like, yeah, you want to see the best fighters go out there and fight like they're soulless. Like you want to see them go out there and just risk it all, macho confidence or whatever. But it's J. Cole. It's okay. He did that. It's fine. I relate to it. I don't hold that against him. I've never been a huge fan of his music, so I'm not saying like, that's the guy I love, you know, whatever. I'm just saying like, objectively, I have a lot of respect for him, and I think he did the right thing.
Yeah, he realized it was a dirty fight. Drake's gonna like blow sand in someone's face, and Kendrick has a box cutter on him.
And he goes, oh, wait a minute. I thought we were doing fists.
Yeah, I thought we were just doing an old fisticuffs.
I thought it was just fists, and I'm out. And so, good call on J. Cole.
Yep.
Now, for timeline's sake, this comes almost a full month after Like That. But this was kind of a sloppy release. This was leaked. Like, it was not actually officially released by Drake. It was just, like, posted with a different beat. It almost felt like, let's throw this out there, we'll test the waters, see what people are saying about it, and if people like it, we'll release it.
Yeah.
That seems like the OVO way to handle this.
This feels like, to me, a big shift in language. It gets, like, a little more damning from here on out. Obviously, it escalates to an insane place, but Push-Ups is the first one where I was like, oh, all. Drake is like actually really upset.
And it's important to note that this comes out after the second Metro and Future album, We Still Don't Trust You, which contained a lot of new shots towards Drake from A$AP Rocky, The Weeknd, even some say Future has a few shots on there. Rick Ross has also released an entire diss track on Drake that we're not covering in this. It's pretty goofy, but Champagne Moments, there's a music video for it, which is hilarious to me. You can watch that if you'd like. That kind of starts the whole calling Drake a white boy thing that happens in this. But Push Ups addresses all of these people and generally carves out the language of this beef. I think the language is Drake's from Push Ups. There are lines on this song that get referenced till the very end. The source material being Kendrick's music, which seems to have hinted at all of this in a much more artistic and like concise way than Drake's music has. Drake throws so many subliminals at so many people across his music, it's hard to keep track of. It's like if you look back at the last 5 years of Kendrick's career, you can kind of look at any song and contextualize it somehow to be about Drake.
I mean, I think he's eternally fighting that battle of that manifestation of the pop artist, whoever it is who's like sold what he views as the rap culture down the mainstream pipeline.
So this song starts with, I could never be nobody #1 fan. Your first #1, I had to put it in your hand. This is a direct reference to Future saying this at the beginning of We Don't Trust You. You would do #1 fan dog, sneak this and I don't understand dog, pillow talking acting like a fed dog, I don't need another fake friend dog. This was kind of like, I put Future on, is what he's trying to say here.
Drake really starts to hammer home the big point of the beef for him with how the fuck you big steppin' with a size 7 men's on. In reference to Kendrick Lamar's album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
And also the small steppers that Kendrick Lamar seems to wear. But this is Drake's first lie in the beef. Kendrick actually wears a size 4.
A size 4?
Yeah, size 4 men's.
Wow.
Which is just messed up. You don't lie on a man's shoe size. That's one of the cardinal rules of life.
Drake gets really seemingly fascinated with this whole stature thing. And I think he loves being big.
I think it's more that he doesn't have a lot of ammunition.
Yeah.
And this is an easy one.
That's more
to
what
be
I'm
like,
saying,
no matter what you do, Kendrick, you'll never be tall.
Yeah.
Which is, can be a powerful thing to say to a short person.
Yeah.
Like a short guy, like really, like I know, you know what I mean?
I've picked on short guys before, don't get me wrong. It's very easy. I've never picked on a short person who has a Pulitzer Prize in rap.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? It seems like
totally.
Seems like stature's kind of set aside when you've won a Pulitzer Prize for the battle.
It's not for the battle.
No, but it's like for the sport that the battle's taking place in.
Totally. I understand that. I'm not saying it takes away from Kendrick's accolades that he's short.
Right.
But I'm saying, like, now hear me out here. It's when a guy's like really, really rich and successful and arguing with a woman. And she's like, no matter how rich you get, you'll never have a big dick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's like, oh, look at all your accomplishments. Doesn't matter. You're still always going to have a small dick.
But what if they won the Nobel Peace Prize for fucking? Like, instead of having a big dick, they won the Nobel Peace Prize for, like, how they used it. The motion of the ocean.
That would be different. That'd be like if Kendrick Lamar won the Pulitzer Prize for basketball.
Yeah, true.
Because he's short. He's saying no matter how good you get at rap, you'll never be tall.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's saying that directly, but I'm saying maybe that's why he was trying to pinpoint an insecurity.
Yeah.
That's really all that it is. He's trying to pinpoint an insecurity. I also think it's kind of childish.
Super childish for a 37-year-old or whatever.
Totally, but he didn't have a lot of ammunition, and we learned that throughout the beef.
Yep.
And then it gets into like all this business shit, drop and give me 50, like some push-ups. It is clever the way he's saying it, because there's that video of Kendrick doing push-ups at the park. He's saying drop and give me 50, which is like, you know, drop and give me 50 push-ups, like what a sergeant. And saying that your label controls you and you're splitting it 50-50. But I think what's lost on rappers often is that a lot of us aren't privy to or don't care about the business part of it. It doesn't matter to me if you're in a bad deal. You know, like I'm sure that matters to Kendrick and it might be a sore spot for him. But when Drake is playing so much to the public throughout this beef, I think that gets lost, is that the public doesn't much care.
No, I don't think so. I think some people like to imagine Kendrick as someone who is like very in control of his art just due to the content of his albums. I don't know, it's a weird angle for Drake to play as someone who like seemingly plays along in the industry like constantly. He's made hits and like very intentionally made pop songs, made dance songs, whatever. Kendrick's never done that. So it feels like kind of a weird angle, but it's all about the money.
Kendrick has done that, which is what he points out next.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like Drake just did a deal where he gets $400 million and gets to own his masters.
Yeah.
He did like the biggest deal in rap of all time. He does have a point here. I'm just saying it's not a point that matters matters to me when I'm thinking about who I like more, Kendrick or Drake. It is about the music.
Right.
It's not about who gets more money off their songs. It really doesn't matter to the average listener.
Yeah.
And I think that is lost on Drake the most throughout this, is that like the money, power, respect thing. Kendrick's saying the last one is better. So don't come at me about money or power. Respect is what I care about. And the average hip hop fan is also kind of looking at the same thing. None of us are ever going to touch as much money as Drake has. A lot of us are never going to touch as much money as Kendrick has. Almost all of us.
Yeah.
The average person is like, who's better at making music? Who's better? Who's offering more to hip hop, to music as a whole, to us as fans? That's what we consume. I don't care how much money Drake or Kendrick has.
Right. This is the delusional rich guy being like, you invested in a Roth IRA? That's genius. And I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, don't tell me about that.
Shut up. All my money is in Cheetah Coin.
What's that?
Cheetah Coin. You can assume that it's some off-brand crypto that I got sold down a river for.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Next line.
The way you doing splits, bitch, your pants might rip.
Now, I know you just got done saying all the business stuff doesn't matter.
Right.
But this is funny.
Yeah, but this is the line that made people think this was AI. Because they were like, come on. Like, there's no way he said this. To me, this is a funny, classic Drake line that people say is corny, but to me, I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. And it's all fun and games still right now.
And this is what I was talking about. You better do that motherfucking show inside the biddy. Maroon 5 need a verse, you better make it witty. Then we need a verse for the Swifties.
But I just see this kind of as totally hypocritical.
Well, it is because Drake makes those records.
Yeah.
But this is an attack on Kendrick and the type of artist that he is.
Right.
Is like, he makes all this very serious music, all this stuff. You want to come at me for being the pop guy, then why are you doing songs with Maroon 5 and Taylor Swift?
Yeah, it just seems like kind of shaky ground. If this is the fortress Drake is building to battle the rest of this battle from, it's weird because it's not like me versus you. It's just like, yeah, I do that, but you do it and you claim not to or whatever.
Well, I think it's more on a business angle here. He's saying that he doesn't want to do that. This is Top speaking to him.
Yeah.
Saying, you're in this deal, you have to do a Maroon 5 verse. You have to do a Taylor Swift verse. So saying like, because of your business situation, you have to make decisions that you don't agree at your core with.
Yeah, you're being compromised.
Yeah, you're compromised. You have to do this. And you're the guy who's like, I get to control my narrative, but they're making you do stuff that is at odds with what you believe.
And then Drake says, you ain't in no big three. SZA got you wiped down. Travis got you wiped down. Savage got you wiped down.
Yeah. He just had to pick 3 people he wasn't beefing with.
Yeah.
That's really it. Because think about it. He would have said Future.
Yeah.
He had to go with who he had talked on the phone with recently. You know? Like, actually, everybody was against, the whole industry is against him.
Yeah.
He had to pick a big 3 that didn't involve everyone he's beefing
Logic got you wiped down.
with. Blueface got you wiped down. Kid Leroy got you wiped down.
No business being involved in this. Don't bring up SZA's name in this.
Harlow got you wiped down.
What the fuck is this? A 20v1? What's a prince to a king? He a son.
This defined the language right here. 20v1 gets brought up all the way to the end.
Yeah.
He says it in Family Matters. Kendrick flips it on him in Euphoria. I mean, this is brought up the whole time. 20v1 and 1v20 will always remember that, which will forever affect those videos on YouTube of people dating 20 people at once on like a speed dating thing.
They call that a 20v1?
Yep, it's a 1v20, I believe.
You shouldn't think of dating as verses. It's not a competition when it comes to looking for love.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then a prince to a king, he a son.
Maybe Drake's best bar throughout the entire beef. What's a prince to a king just in monarchy? A king, prince is his son. And then also the Prince and Michael Jackson thing. Michael Jackson has a son named Prince. And then also Michael Jackson being the king of pop and Prince not as successful or whatever.
Ultimately, I feel like that hierarchy here for Drake is like Drake took Kendrick on his first tour. He brought you into this world and he's going to take you out by calling you short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not going to take long.
No. One song should do it. Push-ups should do it.
Nah, Family Matters should do it. That song will definitely get time to breathe.
Yep, nope.
And obviously, we have the quotable, Metro, shut your hoe ass up and make some drums. Which people, regardless of how this beef has panned out or will continue to pan out, people will yell this in the club if Push-Ups plays.
I mean, it's a funny thing for a producer to get involved. And, you know, this is just, it's like, just shut up. This isn't about you. Go make the beats that we rap on.
Like, he's like, you're not speaking up, actually. You're getting a bunch of people to rap on songs that you made. Just like, shut up and go back to the booth. You know, just go fiddle around, tinker. I will say, as soon as Metro did open his mouth on Twitter, I was like, oh, don't do that.
Yeah.
He's being like kind of homophobic on Twitter after all of this, which is like not an angle that needed to be part of this at all.
I got something to say here.
Hey, you guys talked a lot back and forth, but you didn't really call Drake gay enough.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call Drake gay on Twitter.
This whole rap beef is gay. He's like, what the fuck?
He's texting Kendrick. He's like, no, I'm going to call him gay on Twitter.
I got him.
Kendrick's like, no. Let's leave it to me. And he's like, no, I got it. Trust me, he's zesty. I'm going to call it hashtag zesty Drizzy or something. I'll start something. BBL Drizzy.
Awesome song.
That is a great beat. This one I wanted to talk about, just this line I feel like went over some people's head. It says, Rolling Loud stage, y'all were turnt, that was slick as hell. Shit'll probably change if your BM start to kiss and tell. This is about Travis Scott at Rolling Loud during Future and Metro Boomin's set. He says, play that new one, the one that he like does the beat from Like That. This is before Like That's out. And they're like, oh, we can't play that one. And he's like, just cut it off after the hook. So he knows, Travis Scott shows right there that he knows Kendrick is on that song and that verse exists and is going to be a big deal. They know all of that. Everybody on that stage knows what's happening. Everybody in the crowd obviously doesn't because it hasn't come out yet. And they do play part of it. What he's saying here is like, y'all were turned, that was slick. Like, I saw that. I knew what you guys were doing. Travis, why are you egging on this? Like, me and you are close, but you heard that and wanted to hear that song. And then saying, shit'll probably change if your BMs start to kiss and tell, which is, there's a rumor going around that his baby mama, Kylie Jenner,
of the Jenner fame and fortune,
slept with Future.
Famous as fuck.
This is where he fucked up.
Yeah, here's where he gets out of hand. He says, I be with some bodyguards like Whitney, and I feel like when Kendrick heard this, something happened. Something bad happened.
Well, obviously, there's the Whitney Houston movie Bodyguard, but then Whitney being Kendrick's fiance or ex-fiance, her name. And then also in the past, Drake has that line where he says, bodyguards don't look like Kevin Costner. That's who plays the bodyguard in that movie. And it seems to be kind of like a subliminal shot saying that Whitney has slept with a bodyguard. That is the implication here, but just saying her name.
Yeah, invoking her name, probably a terrible move. And also Whitney Houston died like under the watch of her bodyguards.
Yeah.
So you're also like bringing back the memory of this incredibly famous person who died while the bodyguard was supposed to be there like helping her. So just the idea of like bringing up the name of Kendrick's fiance in a situation that could remind anybody of death. And I feel like it's where he crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. And when forced to play the most like aggressive version of this game, I feel like Drake didn't have the necessary arsenal to keep up.
And then Drake does what both of them were doing at this point, which is, this ain't everything I know, don't wake the demon up. So basically hinting that he has a nuke.
Yeah.
That seems to be the way they were playing the game at the time.
This would be fun if countries did this. Like if we didn't know who had nukes.
Well,
They're like, don't do it.
there is that.
Kind of.
There is.
We pretty much know. You can see from space who's refining uranium. You can see from space who's picking their nose. If they're refining uranium in fucking Puerto Rico, we'd find out. We'd be like, what are you guys doing that for?
Well, we would know because that would be ours.
Right. Either way, anywhere it goes, no one gets to do it without being found out.
So, some days go by. Kendrick does not respond. Drake really wants a response.
Please.
And so, TaylorMade Freestyle comes out just on Twitter. This is the infamous AI, Tupac, and Snoop Dogg verses. I think this song flopped on impact because of aesthetics and tactics, but beyond the initial impact, it was funny and strategic at the time.
Oh, yeah.
It becomes another grave mistake bringing Tupac into this in some sort of material way.
Yeah.
I first heard it and was like, no, don't do this. And then I listened more and I was like, it's kind of a good chess move. You know, what does Kendrick care about the most? West Coast and hip hop legacy. Tupac, he did a little fake interview with him at the end of To Pimp a Butterfly, which, depending on how you view it, you know, at the time, such an impactful, great album that we all looked at that and were like, wow, this is amazing. You can look at that and be like, that is insane.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy thing to do.
It's delusional.
Yeah.
What? You constructed old Tupac interviews to make it sound like he was talking to you? That's wild. That's some crazy fan behavior.
Yeah.
I love Kendrick Lamar. To Me a Butterfly is one of my favorite albums of all time. hip hop or otherwise. But I think there was a moment there where I was like, yeah, what Drake's doing right here is corny, but he knows it. He's being self-aware about it. Look at what Kendrick did and think about it a little bit. And then getting the Ghost of Alive Snoop Dogg, I don't really understand where that plays into it, but he got two West Coast legends to pressure Kendrick into dropping, saying he's scared of Drake.
This beef goes to such an unfunny place, and this one I think it will be the quickest one to be forgotten about, but god damn it, is it so funny. I wish he would have fired back with like some like Canadian AI or something.
Well, he kind of does.
Yeah.
It's not AI, but,
right,
he's like Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky's talking to Drake.
Brother.
Oh, you know, Drake, you really got to drop, man. You know, I think you're getting a little too big for your britches in this beef there. But I will forever remember the robotic crack in the voice of Snoop Dogg saying, nephew. It's so clear that it's Drake, obviously, on both of them. But it just sounds so robotic. The voice changer is just like fucking up there. And it is awesome.
Yeah.
And Tupac talking about the Budden podcast.
Yeah.
That's amazing because Tupac was not around for that. Wasn't around for podcasts.
Yeah. I mean, this is Drake's wheelhouse. If the beef could have stayed kind of in this vein of like being funny, it's like internet banter kind of back and forth, he can hang out in this space.
So here we got AI Tupac giving Kendrick a tip that is really a Drake jumping in front of his own thing that he knows the angle that Kendrick's gonna take. Talk about him liking young girls. That's a gift from me. Heard it on the Budden podcast. It's gotta be true. He's just saying like, before you say all the young girls stuff that everybody on Twitter's been saying for 10 years, I'm gonna let Tupac say it to you so you look foolish using that angle when you do eventually use it.
And Tupac could still be listening to the Budden podcast.
Yeah, I guess if he could be in Cuba.
Tupac also chimes in with, you're supposed to be the boogeyman. Go do what you do. Unless this is a moment that you tell us this not really you.
Yeah, and I do think at the moment this was a powerful thing because it was kind of like Kendrick was a little bit in hiding. We didn't know what was about to happen. So as hip-hop fans, we were all kind of like, did Kendrick throw a stone and hide his hand?
Yeah.
He hasn't said anything. It was a moment that Drake looked smart for saying this. Right now, he does not.
Uncle Snoop came in with a little, never shot nobody, never stabbed nobody, never did nothing violent to no one. It's the homies that empower you.
This is a revealing line in that later on, Drake accuses Kendrick of being violent with his partner.
Right, and that becomes like the crux of his argument, eventually in the last two tracks.
And Snoop Dogg just said, never did nothing violent to no one.
And there are multiple instances of both of them doing this, but mainly Drake, especially when it comes to like the serious points of his argument. He does this a couple times where he's like, you're so short and pussy, you can't hurt anyone, but you hurt someone.
Yeah.
And that was a grave mistake.
There's a lot of hypocrisy throughout this beef, but it does feel like it kind of illustrates just Drake kind of, I don't know is it flying by the seat of your pants? The suit of the...
Flying by the seat of the pants.
Whatever it is, flying by the whatever. He's just like, each diss is its own thing, where Kendrick seems to be kind of like a story with chapters that you can read through and it all stays semi-logically consistent with maybe a few little flubs in there, but overall, it makes sense what Kendrick's angle was the whole time, where Drake's feels very like, oh, this moment is this moment, and I'll say whatever, but I might contradict that later if it benefits me.
It reads like a porno comic book. You're like, whoa, what the? What's this got to do with that? Okay. Nice.
I guess.
You've never read porno comic books?
No. What are they? Is it called manga? Is that what it's called?
No need to get in beef with manga. We'll never win that one.
Yeah.
You think Kendrick's fans are crazy. Wait till you meet the Naruto fans.
Okay.
Now, Rudy.
Drake's verse on this, where he picks up where Snoop Dogg left off, says, shitting on you dudes from a whole different altitude. High up in the sky like I'm Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes, famously portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie The Aviator.
Great movie.
A business tycoon of the 20s and 30s who's infatuated with flying.
Yep, didn't he hijack a plane at one point?
Bunch of stuff. He would hire hella planes and he tried to shoot movies about them. And he was a rich guy who was just kind of spiraling downhill, spending all his money like crazy to fuel all these insane personal endeavors.
Yeah, kind of like the ultimate portrayal of like a guy on Adderall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like, oh, I got this idea, I got to make them all happen.
Yeah, and he was a man who definitely suffered from undiagnosed whatever. In the 30s, they were like, he's got a quick mind, that Howard. He's got a silver tongue. He can't stop talking, and he picks his nails all day, and he scratches his face, and he's got depression or something. I don't know what that word means yet. but he's got it.
They should come up with a medical thing for like when you're nervous all the time. I don't know. They should start giving people like little pills for it or something. I never could sit still in school either. But this comes back around later, which we'll get to. This could be a possible reference.
Potentially, yeah. There could be a thread here.
So stay tuned for that.
But this girl really about to make you act like you not in a feud.
It's about Taylor Swift.
It is.
This whole song is kind of about Taylor Swift, saying that Taylor Swift's album, The Tortured Poets Department, moved this whole feud, kind of like made Kendrick not able to drop until that cycle was over, which I'm not saying it proved to be true, but Kendrick did wait until after they started counting the streams from the Taylor Swift album in order to drop.
That could be seen in two lights, though, too. Kendrick wants all the ears to be on his response. And he could be, paying respect to Big Mommy Taylor, who's the realest gangster in the rap game.
Well, that's what Drake is doing.
Right.
Kendrick's never said anything about Taylor Swift throughout this entire thing. And also, he did release Euphoria independently and dropped it on a Tuesday when only 3 days of streaming would count towards the charts. So it's clear Kendrick made a few choices throughout this that if he was worried about the charts or worried about disrupting Taylor Swift's rollout, I don't know. It doesn't seem like he moved that way. This line I did want to point out because a lot of people were upset that on Family Matters, Drake continues to address other people that are not Kendrick Lamar when it seemed to have become a 1v1 or a 20v1 or a 1v20, whatever. But, this line, he said it. He was preemptively saying, the rest of y'all are definitely involved. Y'all getting it too. So saying A$AP Rocky, The Weeknd, Rick Ross, Metro Boomin, I'm going to address all of you. And so I don't think that takes away from Drake's response on Family Matters. I think other things do. I always assumed that he wasn't going to make one full song about Kendrick as his next response.
And this is by nature, too. I mean, this is what he did during the Pusha beef. Like, this is just how he handles beef, is like rope everyone in. Like, not rope anyone in, but it's always about like a bunch of people versus him.
And I think that plays into his victim complex. He just kind of like always plays the victim. Everybody's against me.
Yeah, they all want to take down the big guy. The big, strong, tall, athletic, racially ambiguous guy. At the top, that's me.
And then, shout out to Taylor Swift, the biggest gangster in the music game right now. I think it does say a lot about Drake that he thinks Taylor Swift is the biggest gangster in the music game right now. That's all I'm gonna say. It's like, all right, dude.
Drake teases Kendrick here and says, you better have a motherfucking quintuple entendre on that shit. Some shit I don't even understand.
And there are multiple that end up happening.
Why would you say that?
Well, I think he was trying to say, like, you're a fucking nerd. He's saying you're a dork.
Yeah.
He says, like, you do all that quintuple entendre shit. Well, let's see you do it.
Yeah.
We didn't know what the language of Kendrick's response was going to be. So it's like, I understand the way that he was handling this here. It was kind of almost a diss at Kendrick's fans.
Yeah.
All these fucking dorks on the internet saying Kendrick is going to own me. Yeah, you better have your fucking quintuple entendre. You better blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. It's like telling a dragon, like, oh, all right, come over to my house and light it on fire.
Oh, what do you do? Better do your breathing fire shit.
And then you're like, Wile E. Coyote.
If you want to destroy my house, you better do your breathing fire thing. You reminded him that he could breathe fire.
Yeah.
So then we get Euphoria, which is 17 days after Drake drops Push-Ups. A lot of people were talking about, like, you're on the clock, blah, 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 blah. It was less time between Push-Ups and Euphoria than Like That and Push-Ups. I will say that kind of, like, leads to some of the hypocrisy that happened throughout all of this. It made sense to me, though, because of, like, second Metro and Future album. There's a lot that happened in between Like That and Push-Ups to make it make sense of why Push-Ups took a long time to come out. But here it did feel like we had radio silence from Kendrick to the point where people got bored. Before Euphoria dropped, people were like done checking in on this beef. A lot of people were saying this might have been a quintuple entendre. The first being the show Euphoria, which Drake executive produced, which is an HBO show that stars Zendaya and Sydney Sweeney that hypersexualizes teenagers. And obviously that kind of insinuates some of the stuff that we will learn about Drake or have heard about Drake for a long time.
Right.
This cover art kind of like details some of the other meanings Kendrick might be alluding to. One being the feeling of euphoria. So saying like, you probably feel great right now, just wait. Also references the use of dangerous drugs, which I think is kind of a double entendre there too, because he accuses Drake of pill popping later on, but he also is basically saying like, you're getting euphoria out of this. This is a dangerous drug. Like, don't mess with me. You're gonna like OD on this beef. And then the second line being they had almost a week to recover from the euphoria of Tuesday's series-winning victory. This was released on a Tuesday. They had almost a week, meaning that Kendrick was going to drop again.
I think he's talking about the Denver-Minnesota series too. So it could be like a swintuple.
That's not a series-winning victory, though.
Well, that maybe like Denver had such a long break from the Lakers because they won on a Tuesday that now going into this next series, maybe there's a little rust on them, you know? It could be
right.
Euphoria, Nikola Jokic.
What?
Big Serbian beast. I don't know, man. There's a lot to read into.
I will tell you about a meaning that I haven't seen anybody talk about online.
Yeah.
I think it also means euphoria. Like, here's euphoria. Kendrick kind of like turning a mirror to Drake on this song. Just being like, all right, here's euphoria.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a stretch, and I know Kendrick fans have been known to stretch a lot during this beef, but I don't know.
It does start with the classic reverse audio sample that Kendrick has done, you know, throughout his whole career. And in this one, it's a reverse of Richard Pryor in The Wiz saying, everything they say about me is true. And it's a famous scene in the movie where Richard Pryor goes, everything they say about me is true.
And that is, he's the wizard. He is the Wizard of Oz. So kind of like the man at the top, the man behind the curtain, the big guy. And this is like the moment in The Wiz where they kind of realize he's not everything that he says he is.
Yeah, he's more of a puppet master.
Basically saying everything that's been said about Drake for years
Is true.
is true. And this is going to be me pulling the mask off of the wizard.
Yeah, and Michael Jackson looks fucking insane in this movie, and he plays the Scarecrow.
And the Scarecrow
Scary.
had no brain.
Right.
And so he's saying, you're dumb. You're not going to be able to compete in this with me.
Yep.
He might not be saying that directly, but that's how.
That's the character. It's a famous ass book.
Them superpowers get neutralized. I can only watch in silence. I think that this means the Spider-Man meme thing.
Yeah, that's what I think.
It's like when they both point at each other, their superpowers are neutralized.
Yeah.
Neither of them can shoot webs anymore.
And he says, the famous actor we once knew is looking paranoid and now is spiraling. Which feels like a stretch to call Drake the famous actor we once knew.
Well, I don't think he is. I think he's calling Tupac that.
Ah, there you go.
I think he's saying paranoid and now spiraling. That happened at the end of Tupac's life. And they both were famous actors, Drake and Tupac.
Yeah.
Drake was a famous actor.
Degrassi.
It's Degrassi.
Name another actor that was on that, if that's such a famous show.
Well, he was the most famous guy on it.
No, he became a giant musician, so we think of him on that show. He wasn't like a big stud going into that show.
Not going into it. No, he was a child.
Right. And so no one that was on that show is famous for their acting that they did in that show.
He was also in a Sprite commercial, so that counts.
That's huge. I love this next line. You're moving just like a degenerate. Every antic is feeling distasteful. That's cutting as fuck. Because, you know, he gets him. He really gets him with the degenerate gambler, pill popping, sex having, freak show guy.
I think it's just basically saying the AI Tupac and Snoop was really like an ugly tactic. I calculate you're not as calculated. I can even predict your angle. This proved way too much to be true, especially on the next line, fabricating stories on the family front, because you heard Mr. Morale. I thought that was true on the next song, but even more true when we get to the last song of this beef. It's like, how did he read this and not watch his step?
Yeah, or watch a YouTube video, maybe?
Yeah, watch something. He had to avoid this. It's so obviously a warning. Pathetic master manipulator, I can smell the tails on you now. That's double entendre for dogs smelling each other's tails so they get to know them and they know that they're not a threat.
I always thought they were smelling each other's buttholes.
They are.
Oh.
Just kind of in the same area.
Ah, yeah, I guess. My dad calls that reading the news. When the dogs come over and they smell each other, he goes, reading the news, Amos?
Oh.
And he reads the news off the other dog in order to get his daily story.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I like it.
Here, I think it means Kendrick is smelling Drake's butt. Tommy Hilfiger stood out, but FUBU never had been your collection.
This is like Kendrick, just you're a suburban dude and I'm from the hood kind of deal, right?
Yeah, but also I think like people were thinking that like he's saying like FUBU had never been part of your collection, like you didn't wear FUBU. FUBU means for us by us.
Yeah.
And so he's saying it never had been your collection.
Ah, yeah.
And Tommy Hilfiger was outed as a racist as well. And so people stopped wearing it. I think he's basically saying like your white side sticks out and FUBU was never your collection. And also at the end, the last song Kendrick releases is Not Like Us.
Yeah.
They not like us, for us by us. Never had been your collection.
I make music to electrify them. You make music that pacify them. I can double down on that line, but spare you this time. That's random acts of kindness.
And he's hinting here definitely at the angle that he was going to get into the kid stuff. But I also think this references something deeper than that. You make music that pacify him. I think he's basically saying like, you make music that you have to, and that you're compromised in a greater way because of the actions that you've taken, the extracurriculars, whether they may be true or untrue. I think that's what he's hinting at here, is that there's some stuff that you have to do that is to pacify certain people.
Powerful folks.
Powerful people. That's what I think he's alluding to here.
Vladimir Putin.
It has nothing to do with Putin.
You don't know that.
I don't know that, but my guess, again,
Shkreli.
who's Martin? Oh, the weasel guy.
Martin Shkreli.
I don't think Martin Shkreli has anything to do. Actually,
He bought the Wu-Tang album.
It's more likely that Martin Shkreli is involved in this than Putin.
Really?
Yeah.
Show me the book odds on that. Whatever. I'm just saying stuff allegedly.
I'm also just saying stuff. This isn't even my opinion. It's just stuff.
Know you a master manipulator and habitual liar too, but don't tell no lie about me and I won't tell truths about you.
And that's a reference to The Heart Part 4.
And it's like a great Instagram caption for like people that are getting dumped this summer or something. I just felt like the second I heard this line, I was like, yeah, it's gonna be people are gonna be like framing up with the homies or something, and this is gonna be a caption.
Yeah, but he said it 5 years ago.
But like right now, it's more cutting.
Then you get shoo, 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 bee, bee, bee. This is him shooing away the bug. Drake is the bug. It's whatever. It doesn't matter.
Into the first verse. Island right here is remote, okay? No one can seem to find Kendrick.
Where is he?
Drake's hinted twice like that, I know you're in that Brooklyn apartment, and then in I think the most recent one, he references a studio that's in Venice that Kendrick has recorded at in the past. No one really seems to know where he's at. Here, he's telling everyone that he is on a remote island.
Whether that be a physical remote island or just kind of like he's alone right now, I think there's something there.
It could be a literal remote island too. A small island in the South Atlantic that is covered in old TV remotes.
Or it's an RC island. It's controlled by remote.
And it's constantly moving and you can never track them down.
Yep, season 5 of Lost.
That's awesome.
So this line, everybody want to be demon till they get chipped by a throwaway, is a great line because Future's legal middle name is Demon. Throwaway, obviously Throwaway Part 1 and Part 2, legendary Future songs, and then saying they get chipped by a throwaway. So essentially like he wanted to be Future until him and Future got into it over a girl. And I might do a show a day, once a lame, always a lame. This is about him being on Degrassi.
Then Kendrick brings up the fun old childhood game, Have You Ever? And he asks Drake if he wants to play. Says, have you ever walked your enemy down like with a poker face? Could be a Lady Gaga reference. I doubt it. I'm assuming it's more walking straight at your enemy without flinching. And then he says, have you ever paid 500,000 like to an open case? People thought that maybe at first this was Kendrick saying something about Drake and it's more self-confessional.
Yeah, there is a case from, I believe, 2014, a violence case against a woman in Vegas. That seems to have been settled outside of court. So he's basically saying I paid 500,000 to an open case, especially because like the thing that everybody's bringing up about the case in like 2019 or whatever with Drake, it was not $500,000. It was published by a New Zealand website. And so it was actually $350K in US dollars that was settled for. And that seemed to be kind of an extortion tactic on Drake.
Yeah.
And if we are to believe Kendrick, and he addresses it on the radio, there's an interview of him talking about his own case, it seems like an extortion thing against Kendrick as well. But you never know. There are things worth looking into.
Right.
I think he's trying to say like, there's stuff that's going to come out. You're going to try to air my dirty laundry. I'm going to tell you what is true about me, opening it up to be like, all right, now tell us something about you.
It's an icebreaker. Then Kendrick says, I hate when a rapper talk about guns and somebody die, they turn into nuns and they hop online like Pray for My City, faking for likes and digital hugs. And digital hugs here, this is a very serious line. I think it drives home a good point. Digital hugs is just funny to hear as a phrase, and imagining Drake wanting to get digital hugs, you know?
It's also Kendrick's just like distaste for social media shows through a little bit here. Like it's not real love is basically what he's saying.
Right, and his distaste for like participation, activism, or whatever, you know, like that. A lot of that has been voiced, especially through Mr. Morale.
And this is about a rapper dying in Toronto, and he posted Pray for My City. but also when Takeoff passed away in Texas, I believe it was Jay Prince's son posted "Pray for my city," essentially saying like, when we are talking about violence and the violence that we have promoted has then materialized in the real world, we can't pretend like we don't play a part in that.
Yeah. Dementia is brought up in the next line. It is a hereditary disease, so it can run in the family.
Oh.
And park his son. I don't understand that one. Is he threatening Adonis?
No. Let it get shaky. I'll park his son. I think that...
Oh, Parkinson's.
Well,
shaky.
Yeah, Parkinson's is the obvious thing there, but then he's talking about the daddies in the next one. So saying like, you know, whether that be he's talking about Drake's dad, whether he's talking about Jay Prince. The very first time I shot me a Drake, the homie had told me to aim it this way. I didn't point down enough. Today I'll show you I learned from those mistakes. So this line obviously is about physically, like when you shoot a Drake, there's recoil. So you have to aim a little lower than where you're actually trying to shoot, because the recoil will make you kick back and up. I think what Kendrick is saying here is just basically like, I've shot at you before and it went over everybody's head, including yours.
Yeah.
So today I'm going to shoot directly at you. And I think that means he's like, I'm going to dumb it down for you today.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to your level to speak directly to you, you know, to let you know I'm shooting at you so that my other shots will land as well.
Center of mass. That's where you want to aim. Somebody had told me that you got a ring on God. I'm ready to double the wage. I'd rather do that than let a Canadian person make Pac turn in his grave.
So this is obviously in reference to Drake buying Tupac's ring, which is the most valuable hip hop artifact ever. You kind of pointed out to me a possible second meaning here.
Yeah, there are rings you wear on your fingers, and then there are sex trafficking rings that you run as a sort of sick mob boss. And so he could be hinting at that as well.
It's 3 goats left, and I seen 2 of them kissing and hugging on stage. I thought this was about Jay-Z and Beyonce when I heard it, because like he's already said like there's no big 3, it's just Big Me.
Yeah.
So how is there 3 goats left? I know that J. Cole and Drake, you know, they weren't kissing on stage. I would have seen that. But they, you know, they were schmoozing on stage, like giving each other props, blah, blah, blah. Beyonce and Jay-Z literally kiss and hug on stage because they're married.
I don't know. I don't think this bar is like that meaningful, and it does feel to be like, why is he even calling them goats, you know?
Well, but then he says, I love him to death, and in 8 bars, I'll explain that phrase. And if that's the case, if he's talking about Beyonce and Jay-Z, the YNW Melly line gets a little more fucked up.
And they got no business being killed by anyone.
That's a weird way to say that.
No business, man. They got nothing to do with this.
Well,
maybe.
Jay-Z might have something to do with this.
That's true. It's fucked up.
Pray they my real friends. If not, I'm YNW Melly.
Who's on trial for killing his friends.
And obviously that is an alleged crime, but the implication here is just like, if they're not my real friends,
I'll murder them. Then we get the Drake bought Pharrell's chains. Kendrick, again, doesn't like this. And he's inheriting the beef. Pharrell with a lifelong connection to Pusha T. He gets to bring up Pusha T here at the end. Hits Pushin' P before that. P for Pharrell. Also hints at the Wanna Gunna line that's coming up later. So this is a loaded bar here.
You better off spinning again on him. You think about pushing me.
Yeah.
Which is great because he's just basically saying like, you lost to Pusha T. You have a better chance in another beef with Pusha T than you do against me. And then he says, he's Terrence Thornton. I'm Terrence Crawford. Yeah, I'm whooping feet. Terrence Thornton, Pusha T's government name.
Yep.
Terrence Crawford, the boxer who is undefeated. And then he says he's whooping feet, which is a very West Coast term for beating somebody out of their shoes.
Beating them out of the shoes.
We ain't got to get personal. This is a friendly fade. You should keep it that way, which is a line that is so strange to me within this context, but it is what it is.
I mean, this isn't the one, though.
Yeah, it's not the one, but he already said Whitney's name. I think the switch was flipped at this point.
You're right, but I think it's just mostly like Drake had a chance to end it before this. Like, this song could have came out, and if Drake just gave up, it's over.
Which would have been better for Drake, definitely. Right. I know some shit about dudes that make Gunna Wanna look like a saint. You know, a lot of people were saying that this is in reference to a lot of the Toronto lines that come later. It was a 2009 robbery. We'll get into that a little bit later. I think this is deeper than that. I think this is saying, I know some stuff that is so deep, it legitimately makes Gunna look like a saint.
And also, if we're talking about like potential informants here, he might be insinuating that Drake did something along those lines, but 10 times worse.
Which I'm not saying what that is. I'm saying
saying
possible.
something happened 3 days after We Don't Trust You came out. I'm not saying that. You read it online.
I hate the way that you walk. I hate the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress. We hate the bitches you fuck because they confuse themselves with real women. And notice I said we. It's not just me. I'm what the culture feeling. This is obviously interpolating DMX on The Breakfast Club, saying that he hates Drake's face and the way that he walks and everything about him. You gonna make a dude bring back Puff. Let me see if Chubbs really crashed something.
Interesting stuff here. Why would he need to bring back Puff?
Puff did slap Drake or punch Drake or something that one time, but I feel like there's something deeper there.
I do as well. You pointed out a great line here at the end of this verse I want to talk about. Let the core audience stomach that, then tell them where you get your abs from. V12, it's a fast one. When I first heard this song, I was like, man, in a verse where he's just going at him directly, why has he got a line about a car in there?
I said there's no wasted bar, and you said, I hate that he says V12, because who cares?
Yeah, I was like, why are we talking about a fast car? Then it turns out that the liposuction machine is called a V12, which is just horrific.
It's just insane that he's able to do
no wasted lines, and it makes you think it's a wasted line, and then it makes you like actually read into it. He baited me into learning something. I don't even want to fucking learn anything.
And then headshot for the year, You Better Walk Around Like Daft Punk. So Daft Punk is a French electronic duo.
Yes.
And they actually dress like robots. They have helmets on.
Yeah, but...
which is fucking weird, right?
Yeah, but those helmets are not bulletproof.
You don't know that?
I do. There used to be another guy in Daft Punk. There was a third member.
Really?
Yeah.
I just learned about Daft Punk from this song, so I haven't even looked into them or anything.
I'll show you some shit after this.
Okay, I'm down. I'm super down. I always like learning about new stuff. But
it's freaky.
I mostly listen to rap and country, so I'm not sure I'll be into it.
All right, we'll check it out. Verse 2.
All right, then he starts with Remember, which is it's a Drake thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing the Drake from the Worst Behavior.
Correct.
Yachty can't give you no swag neither. I don't give a fuck about who you hang with.
Drake and Yachty started working a lot closer over the last couple Drake projects, and now Drake dresses exactly like Lil Yachty.
And I can't believe any Drake fan has been disputing that. Like, I saw academics be like, he doesn't dress like Yachty. I'm like, dude, he dresses, it's like he's in Concrete Boys.
And then he revokes his card to say the N-word.
Well, he doesn't revoke it. He just says...
he hates it.
He hates it, and it might just be him. Some shit just cringeworthy. Doesn't even have to be deep, I guess.
Yeah, and I do love that as the ending line here. Obviously, I have no 2 cents, no horse in this fight. But the fact that Kendrick is like, can go so hard and then be like, you know what? It might just be me. It's just fucking weird. Doesn't even have to be that deep.
And I think he's saying that also to just be like, I'm not saying a person with one black parent and one white parent can't say that word.
Yeah.
I'm just saying to me it's cringeworthy when Drake says it. Yeah. I think that's generally the vibe here. Still love when you see success. Everything with me is blessed. Keep making me dance, waving my hand, and it won't be no threat is insane to me because of where this goes.
Yeah.
2 songs later, Kendrick says, I think dudes like him should die.
Yeah, but Drake came with Family Matters and it didn't make him dance. Drake failed him. If he would have came out with a diss track that was like Hotline Bling, Kendrick might have never released Meet the Grams.
Right. I don't think that's true, though. It's just
I.
very funny to me that he's like, listen, I know you've got a creepy sex ring. But keep making those pop songs. Keep making me dance. It won't be no threat.
Yeah.
It's all good with me. Honestly, fuck them. I don't give a shit. As long as you keep doing what you're doing, it means nothing to me.
Yeah, I think on the more serious tip, Kendrick doesn't want to have to bear the weight of what revealing all this potential industry secrecy could mean for him. And so it's like, y'all keep the status quo. Don't try and come over here and like claim you're better than me when we all know you're not. You're going to make me do something that is like dangerous for everyone. Matter of fact, I ain't bleed him yet. Can I bleed him? Bet. When I see you stand by Sexy Red, I believe you see 2 bad bitches.
I believe you don't like women. It's real competition. You might pop ass with them. I think he's calling him a misogynist here, not calling him gay, because a lot of people kind of took it that way as like a homophobic bar or something. And you don't like women, also meaning like girls.
Yeah, and you're just using them as like pawns in his own success.
Yeah.
Like that's the misogyny of it all, is that Drake doesn't actually like these women. He's just like stepping in wherever he feels like he can capitalize.
This is the real damning bar from this one. He's like, try cease and desist on Like That record. People didn't know that. What, you don't like that record? Back to back. I like that record. I'm gonna get back to that for the record. This is where I knew that he was gonna drop another one.
Yeah.
I see you know nothing about that.
Yeah, that is like a classic new age kind of Kendrick flow where he hits something that he just says so funny.
Yeah, and I think he's saying it that way so that it's nothing about dot.
Yeah.
Like K dot. Like you know nothing about K dot, and you also know nothing about that.
Dot.
The other cutting line here is ain't 20v1, it's 1v20 if I gotta smack dudes that write with you. So saying he's got 19 writers, and so it's really Kendrick versus all of them. Because also Kendrick never asked any of these people to help him in this beef.
No.
Rick Ross, A$AP Rocky, and The Weeknd just jumped in. Bring him out too, I'll clean him out too, tell Beam that he better stay right with you, which is double entendre because Beam is a writer for Drake. He's a great artist on his own, by the way. He's worked with Justin Bieber. I think he's written for Beyonce, but also like keep a Beam with you.
Am I battling ghosts or AI? Kendrick asks the audience here.
Ghost Riders or the AI Tupac and Snoop Dogg, or the AI Drake, which he thinks maybe. Yeah, he just makes a mistake here. He says Joel Osteen, which is a mega church preacher, and he means to say Haley Joel Osment, who is the actor in AI and The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Whatever. Maybe he meant to say Joe Hale Austin, which is what people have decided to say.
I'm not quite sure about it.
I think he just made a mistake.
And then we get the first mention of Ovi Ho,
Yep.
which becomes the ever so famous hook on Not Like Us.
Then he gets into the part where he imitates a Toronto accent and, you know, uses the word crody, which is what Crips in Toronto used to call each other. Pressa was a big part in that, and then this is obviously in reference to this whole case that Drake was involved in 2009, where he was robbed at gunpoint, and then he cooperated with police but didn't actually go all the way through with the trial. Another person who may or may not have been involved in that was a rapper from Toronto who shot a music video at New Ho King, which he brings up. There's a lot of insinuation there. You can read about that. That's definitely not our space to really be talking about, but every bar means something in this, and it is insinuating that Drake has been involved in street stuff in Toronto and cooperated with police potentially.
A lot of music videos got shot at New Ho King too.
He warns Drake at the end, if you take it there, I'm taking it further. That's something you don't want to do.
Yeah, and Drake says earlier that like it's not just about Kendrick, I'm throwing shots at everyone. Kendrick kind of ups the ante here. He's like, it's not just you and y'all, it's the industry. I'm coming for that too.
Picking apart the carcass. The back on Kendrick's back-to-back.
Yes, I was confused by what you were saying at first. I was like, what did I miss? What did I miss?
And this contains a sample of Al Green.
A song produced by Willie Mitchell, who's like a famous Memphis music producer and also Drake's cousin.
And Drake's uncle, Larry Graham, plays guitar on that Al Green song. And the thing that I forgot to mention about Euphoria is that that contains a sample of Teddy Pendergrass.
Right.
And Teddy Pendergrass and Al Green released an album called Back to Back. Back-to-back hits.
Bitches. So yeah, Kendrick really doesn't.
It doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
This is also, this song, 616, is produced by Jack Antonoff, which is Taylor Swift's producer, aka this song was tailor-made.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of, you know...
Before it even starts.
Maybe the Kendrick fans aren't that crazy after all.
No, they just have a lot of homework. A lot of at-home reading.
A lot of time on their hands.
Yeah, AP lit. My AP lit because it dances.
That's a good, you should hold on to that, yeah.
They can have it.
Right,
I want to get into the rap game after seeing all this shit going on.
Honestly,
I'm good, man.
I definitely never want to meet Drake.
No.
I thought like it'd be cool if I met Drake, and
good.
now I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think I want to meet Kendrick either.
I don't think Kendrick wants to meet me.
No, well, that's a certain.
That's for sure.
That's for certain.
So this song is kind of like, you know, it's another warning shot from Kendrick. The song is about how Kendrick has a mole in Drake's circle, but I think it's also proof of that because it drops the day that Drake was planning on dropping Family Matters. So I think he knew that and dropped it in the morning to kind of recontextualize what Drake was about to say.
Do we think there's any credence to that this was going to be the name of the Drake song? Because I have seen that suggested.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Because I also think Meet the Grams, which we'll talk about later, that is a reference to Family Matters.
Right.
Family Matters was a sitcom. Meet the Grams sounds like the name of a sitcom. familymagazine.com.
And it's like, if family really matters to you, let me introduce you to everybody that's in Drake's family. They're all pieces of shit.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. But 616 in LA also, like, it's not really a time-stamped Drake song. Family Matters is not.
Right.
This one starts with Off-White Sunseeker at the Marina, and that definitely is like a Rick Ross shout, because
For
this
sure.
is such a Rick Ross line.
Yeah.
Like, you can just imagine it in his voice, like,
Off-White Sunseeker at the Marina.
well, yeah. I don't know.
That's my Rick Ross. Judge it as you will, but that's it.
It sounds like an old dog.
Off-White Sunseeker at the Marina. He's tired these days.
Fuck a Phantom, I like to buy yachts when I get the fever. That is a reference to J. Cole and Drake driving around in a Phantom and talking about it. And maybe a reference to Lil Yachty. I don't know. Also, it's a homophone for fuck a fan. So saying like, when I get the fever, I buy yachts. I spend my money.
Yeah, you fan fucker. Oh, sorry.
Then it goes into this kind of like sing-songy part. My confession is yours, but who am I if I don't go to war? If you remove the context completely, it's a very goofy part of the song to me. But this is kind of Kendrick like looking up and being like, why am I engaging in this? I know there's something ugly here, something evil here.
Kendrick's like driven by like a not individual righteousness.
It's like truth, just
Yeah.
like truth in general, and like
Yeah.
truth is the best for everyone. So this is what I have to do. But he understands that he's going to do some bad things along the way, and so he's like basically confessing to those sins ahead of time.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do think is really funny here is that Kendrick goes from circadian rhythms and talking about the mannerisms of Raphael,
Yes.
like biblical figures, and then 2 lines later, he's just like, somebody's lying. I can see the vibes on Ack.
Yeah.
Talking about DJ Academics, like 2 lines after talking about Raphael.
Sandwich in between there is a pretty awesome line, though.
Oh yeah, industry's cooked as I pick the carcass apart.
Yeah. Again, hinting at he's not just here to tear down Drake. He's about to cook the whole establishment.
At this point in the beef, I definitely just read that as like, all right, you're getting a little lofty with it.
Yeah.
It's not that big of it, whatever, but as it goes on, I'm definitely, whatever, I don't know what color pill it is, but I'm that color pilled where I think that this is kind of exposing something much larger than Drake.
Probably red.
Is that the color?
For Pyrus, I was just thinking it'd be
No,
red.
I
It'd be a
wasn't.
red
That's
pill.
not. And that's not what I was.
Well, it's definitely not the blue one.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it's a new color.
Green.
Maybe a color we can't even see.
What?
You hear about that girl who died and went to heaven, and she said there were colors that you can't even see, and then she tried to paint them, and she sold the painting for like $5 billion.
Lion ass bitch.
Yeah, she did a painting of heaven. She died.
Yeah,
and was
all right.
resuscitated.
So Axe got weird vibes.
And then says, have you ever thought OVO is working for me? Well, this whole song is setting up the idea to make Drake paranoid.
Yes.
Look around him. You've got 100 dudes working for you. 20 of them want to see you dead. One of them is actually right next to you right now. It's very much like the whole thing of like Drake's in there cooking up this
Yes.
response, and he has to question who's really on his side. And he has to question what Kendrick knows and how that's going to affect the chess moves from here on out. I think Drake decided to call this as a bluff and reaped what he sowed there.
Right.
How would Meet the Grams come out that quick and be seemingly referencing the song he just put out?
Yeah, or get prescription pill bottles with his name on it.
Well, listen, it wasn't the real Good Kid Mad City Van in the Family Matters music video.
Yeah, they might not be real.
I don't think those are real. I think you can print your own labels for anything, man.
Good luck, dude. That stuff's confusing. I can't get a printer to work to save my life. You ever
Okay.
tried to get a printer to work?
Yes.
It does not often happen on the first try.
That's fine. Kendrick has a lot of money and a lot of talented people around him.
A lot of talented people around Drake, too, working for Kendrick. The genius of this song is just that paranoia. It really changes the tone, and from here on out, like, it does kind of feel like Drake's on a little more defense.
And the one thing I want to point out too is, and this is a theory, that sample, Loop and Chop, goes Boy Wonderful. Boy Wonder has worked with Kendrick.
Yeah.
Boy Wonder works very closely with Drake. I'm not accusing anyone of being the mole. I'm just saying it is very Kendrick-like to maybe put that Easter egg in there and do it with the sample. Who knows, but could be.
And shout out Zach Bia for catching a stray during this whole thing. Congratulations, dude. No one saw that coming. No one saw you getting roped in by Kendrick on this. I sure as hell didn't, so.
I definitely didn't ever imagine Kendrick would rap Zach Bia's name.
So,
that.
he's got that for you got that forever. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
jeez.
Yeah, I'm paranoid too.
Yeah, I'm scared too.
I'm looking around the
Are
room
you
like-
working for Kendrick?
No.
You sure hesitated. I'm working for Rick Ross. We got a whole scheme coming that's going to shock everyone.
Well, stay scheming. That's what he always said.
616 was sweet, but I do remember being like, this is the next track.
I think it's just because there was so much to digest on Euphoria that this was more like he's putting the pressure on him. He's making him paranoid. It's a good chess move.
And it's ultimately like the right jab that sets up the left hook. 24 hours after the song comes out, you're like,
that was smart.
yeah, that motherfucker is smart.
Later that night, Drake drops Family Matters. He not only drops a 7-minute music video, but he also drops a teaser that is just him rapping over the Buried Alive interlude. The Buried Alive interlude was Kendrick on Take Care. But the meat of what Drake's saying is on Family Matters proper. It starts off with
a message from his mom.
Yeah, just half a sentence. Just maybe in this song you shouldn't start by saying, and then Drake starts the song by using the N-word, which he was just told not to use. And then he says, I gotta go bad, which is a reference to really having to go to the bathroom. And then the song proper starts with the outro from Push Ups. So he was teasing at this, like, you know, drop a 50 bag, all that stuff. And then I was trying to keep it PG, which PG Lang.
The threshold between PG and PG-13 is a little more confusing than it used to be.
Do they even use those anymore?
Oh, yeah. I think PG is like one damn. And again, I don't mean to do another Kendrick reference there, but I think if you say damn or if you say like shit, it becomes PG-13. So I think Drake is saying he's about to use some more foul language.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the thing going on here. PG Lang, which is not a rating for movies. PG is. And that's like a kind of movie that doesn't swear more than once. And if it does swear once, it has to be kind of like damn. It can't be like fuck. Because if you say fuck, it's automatically PG-13.
Kendrick did say we can do it right here on camera, Crody.
Exactly. Talking about making a movie and they're trying to decide what the rating of the film is going to be.
Yeah, that's where they do collaborate. That's one moment where they do come together to...
Post Meet the Grams, I'm going to slap the NC-17 rating on there and only show it in like 3 countries because I think it'd probably get you thrown in jail.
Yeah, it's kind of like Skinamarink.
Then he goes on to just name other gangsters, other people he knows for sure are affiliated with gangs.
And all West Coast guys.
Right.
YG, and then Chuck T, The Game, and then CB, Chris Brown.
To me, at least, this is like one of the ultimate hypocrisies in the whole beef, is that he really doubles down and goes hard at Kendrick for these allegations of domestic violence. And then he just is like, you know who's really a gangster? It's Chris Brown.
Who I'm about to call out behavior that we know for a fact that he has done and accuse you of that as damning evidence. And also to then bring up as a pawn in this later on, the very woman that Chris Brown was violent towards.
Yeah.
He uses Rihanna later when he's talking about A$AP Rocky. And overall, I just will say as a broad thing about this entire beef, I will say on both sides, I think they both make a lot of mistakes in the language and like using women and children as chess pieces as if it's not going to affect their lives at all. They're both like gotcha moments for each other and don't seem to have any like real character in the way that they're spoken about. And I think Kendrick does less of that than Drake does. And that's classically true with their music in general. But like, it's worth just saying that like the way that women are spoken about throughout this beef is extremely dismissive and problematic. And children kind of the same.
Yeah.
And then he makes his second huge mistake in this beef by saying, always rapping like you about to get the slaves freed. I don't understand how he thought that this was gonna be an okay thing to say because of what Kendrick had already said, but then clearly setting him up for what Kendrick was about to say.
Yeah.
There's been other instances of this in Drake's career as well. It's very odd.
When you're being accused of being someone who's like not an actual participant in the culture, it just seems like how the fuck did this make it out of the studio? You know, you set yourself up here with this one being a half black, half white Canadian Jew. You can't say shit like that. And that's not to say that Canada was innocent in the Atlantic slave trade. No colonized country was. I'm not giving them a pass.
Right.
But what we had going on here in America was far worse.
You know, it's a weird angle. I understand what he's trying to do by calling him like a fake activist or something, because so much of Kendrick's music has been about that and about like social commentary. But yeah, it just felt like his angle was weak.
He basically says, I'm not black. What do you mean? You're wife is mixed. And it's like, what the fuck? How is that a response to that?
He goes at Kendrick more for being short, but these lines are really funny, in my opinion. He always said I overlooked him, I was staring straight. These bars go over Kenny head no matter what I say. And then I know you like to keep it short, so let me paraphrase. I mean, that's on a normal day.
It's good.
Those are good Drake lines. Yeah. It doesn't really hold up to the seriousness of the battle at the current moment.
Right.
Then he kind of does his drill thing on the second section of this thing, which will address way more people than just Kendrick Lamar. He goes at The Weeknd, goes at A$AP Rocky for saying that he slept with Drake's baby mama by insinuating that he was sleeping with Rihanna during that time. Goes at Rick Ross a bunch, and there are some funny lines, but overall, like, it just was kind of a mistake to do this, even though I think he was always planning on doing it.
Yeah, it almost feels like Drake is inclined to involve as many people as possible, because if you can like kind of dilute the conversation across 20 fan bases, it kind of helps him then, instead of just like pitting him and his fans versus Kendrick and his fans. It's not a chess move to win the battle, but it is slightly strategic on his end, where he's just like, if I can have 30 people all kind of hate me, it's better than this one focused mastermind surgical evil guy like Kendrick, and he still can remain like the big pop star.
Yeah, I just think he didn't have enough ammo to rap for 7 minutes about just Kendrick, and that's why a lot of people call this kind of like just push-ups part 2.
Good or bad for Ozempic, this rap beef?
It's bad for diabetic people, because as the demand continues to grow and grow, a lot of diabetic people are unable to get Ozempic and unable to get the competitors for Ozempic, because a bunch of people want to get it just so they can get skinny like the celebrities.
Like Rick.
Yeah, I guess.
Like Aubrey.
Like Jonah Hill.
It's just what he needed. More bad press.
He doesn't have bad press from that.
But he's taking away diabetics' meds. Fuck you, Jonah.
As long as my girlfriend doesn't surf, I don't really care what Jonah Hill does.
Hey, and as long as she's skinny, I'm twice as happy. Wait, what? No, fuck. Oh, I missed the beat. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right, man.
Snorted up a snowball. What could that line mean?
Cocaine.
Ah, got it. Whew, I was confused about that one.
And then he calls The Weeknd's fans gay.
Which is cool. That's like, okay.
Everybody loves The Weeknd, but gays do seem to have a lot more fun on The Weeknd than I do.
That's so true.
They have a lot, like
also during the week, too.
Well, yeah, there's events, but I mean, The Weeknd seems to be where the gays thrive.
Yeah.
I would say.
Whatever. That's a compliment. Not even a diss on Abel, so whatever.
I did see a tweet where somebody was like, how'd Drake know what they're playing at the gay clubs?
Drugged out little punk sissy from the north side.
It's about The Weeknd.
You shouldn't call anyone a sissy in 2024.
Drugged out little punk sissy from the north side is hard. I know it's dumb, but I'm just saying, like, when he says it in the song, I'm like, damn.
I haven't heard someone get called a sissy since 97. Literally.
To me, it's just the combo.
Yeah, it is the combo.
Drugged out little punk sissy from the north side.
Yeah.
Like, that's hard.
During the part where Drake is addressing A$AP Rocky, he says, ask Fring if that's a good idea the next time you cuddled in that bed again. That's supposedly the name Drake had for Rihanna when they were seeing each other. And so that's something. Fring.
It's a Breaking Bad reference?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that from Breaking Bad? I haven't seen that show.
Gustavo something.
Gus Fring.
Seems like a weird nickname to call anyone, especially Rihanna, though.
Right, I don't know.
It just seems weird.
I haven't seen the show, so I don't know how much Gus Fring is
my
like
little
Rihanna.
meth baby. Get over here, my little meth baby. I don't know what the show's even about.
Well, it seems like you do. You said meth.
Yeah, that's it, though.
Haven't you seen the show?
Yes, all of it.
Okay. Yeah. Why I'm the one who hasn't seen the show.
I'm going to start calling my girlfriend Hefeweizen, or whatever they call him, the big bad guy.
Oppenheimer?
Is he in that show? They call him Mustafas.
You're asking a guy who's never seen it.
Whatever. Drake used to call Rihanna Fring. That's funny. You can picture that at home.
And we used to be called the Chicken Brothers. Right?
For a very short period of time.
Yeah, they called us the Chicken Brothers. Los Pollo, shout out to him, by the way. Best Drake streamer out there.
Drake's really mad at everyone that has taken shots at him, but he's really just upset about the future one.
Oh, yeah. He just says, like,
he's pointedly angry at everyone else.
We never really been through it, Pluto, man.
Dude, that shit made me sick. Yeah, everyone else, you are fucking lame. You're snakes, but... Huge. Dog. Turks. My belly hurts, dude. We're brothers.
Yeah, come on. And then he says, like, Leland Wayne, which is Metro, he's a lame, so he had to be an influence on Future feeling that way about Drake. I just think it's funny that his name's Leland Wayne.
Yeah.
Metro's name is Lil Wayne.
Yeah, and I first read this and was like, that's Lil Wayne's real name?
No.
It's like, that's not creative at all.
Dwayne Carter.
Yeah.
Lil Wayne. That's Metro.
2 separate albums dissing. I just did a Kim to it, skim through it.
Yeah, Kim has skims.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm aware, man. Got him on right now.
People think that maybe he did the hose dripping wet part next because
Yeah.
Yeezy has the... I don't know, I called him Yeezy, but Ye, Kanye, Ye has the wet tank tops that people have been wearing.
He leaves the door open for a Baby Keem feature in the future. He says your only shit that's good is when he's on it.
That's not happening.
You never know. We cannot rule out, I do have to say this during this video, that it's all orchestrated. And we're all getting strung along.
You think it's orchestrated by Nike?
That these guys are in the same room together right now, dapping up, dancing.
I know. Do you think that the puppet master there is Nike because they both have deals with Nike shoe companies?
Would make sense, wouldn't it? That'd be an obvious through line.
I mean, I guess. And
Can't
that would
rule it out.
That would make sense with the big steppers and like the shoe thing on the front of the other cover.
Back to back. They're about to drop an album. Back to back.
Yeah, back-to-back hits with Kendrick and Drake on it. Yeah, I sure doubt it based on all of the allegations leveled against one another. It seems like, at least until Not Like Us came out, I kind of was like, they're both gonna leave this worse than when they entered.
Yeah.
But now, for some reason, Not Like Us makes me change my mind about that with Kendrick.
Yeah, I don't know.
Third part, that's my favorite part. I'll say that. This is my favorite part of the Drake one. Kendrick just opened his mouth. Somebody go hand him a Grammy right now. Unbelievable. It is the most quotable line ever. If it weren't for Drake's kind of like fate throughout this, I think that this would be like the thing everybody would be saying.
He can usually rally this army. It's like, oh, this guy's like, he thinks he's smarter than you. He thinks he's smarter than everyone. Drake's like speaking for the normal guy here. It's a perfect line. The melody he hits, like the cadence throughout this whole verse is so cool.
The following line, though, is possibly transphobic. He is talking about Kendrick's uncle, who, if you've heard Auntie Diaries from Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, this is about his aunt transitioning to a man. And so he's saying, where is your uncle at? Because I want to talk to the man of the house. It's not that what he's saying is wrong. It's the way he's saying it is basically questioning Kendrick's masculinity within the context of a trans man. To me, it came off as like, oh, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, you think you're being slick here, and like, I don't think you are.
Says, you want to take up for Pharrell, then come get his legacy out of my house. And he's got OVO Mark in the video wearing all the chains.
Which is just strange because in Meltdown, he says that he melted down Pharrell's chains.
Yeah.
And they're right there. It's so weird.
Unless he got replicas made.
That would be weird.
That'd be even weirder almost than just lying.
For the history lesson on it, Drake bought Pharrell's chains at auction, like a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And he wore them in the Jumbotron Shit Poppin' music video previously as kind of a diss towards Pharrell. But it's very strange because I was just like, you're just showing that you're a liar. And people didn't even really seem to care. Probably because OVO Mark looked so ridiculous just having that many chains on.
He looked badass.
And those chains are awesome.
Yeah, great chains. Pharrell's, one of the best style icons of all time. Cease and desist is for Hose. He says Kendrick's a liar for saying that he sent a cease and desist for Like That.
But also says that he called the Tupac estate and had them take down Taylor-Made Freestyle.
Right.
A lot of people said this is like one of the chess moves that actually worked. Basically saying like, I didn't cease and desist Like That, and you did cease and desist Taylor-Made Freestyle. So either one of us is lying, or at the very least, we're both hypocrites.
Yeah, I just think the more realistic option is that Tupac's estate, like they didn't need Kendrick to call them to piss them off. You know what I mean?
I'm just looking at it this way though. The email got leaked of the Like That being taken off of radio or whatever. And it's not like it's from Drake.
Right.
It's from like Republic Records or UMG or whatever. It's like from one of the big companies. It's like, you're telling me that automatically implicates Drake in that?
Well, right. But in the same sense, it's like Tupac's estate is big. Like there's a big family there. And if they probably did send a cease and desist. And if someone were to say that Kendrick made that call, who's to doubt it? But
that's all I'm saying is they're on equal playing field here. There's no proof of either.
Right.
Your daddy got robbed by Top. You Stunna and Wayne like father like son. So this is about, Kendrick on Duckworth details the story about how Top robbed his father and then they ended up working together. It's the whole, backwards story thing. And then saying that Top is essentially robbing Kendrick now, or was when they had that label deal. He's like, he's taking half of what you have, which is another one. There's like some good chess moves on the back half of this song.
And it kind of shows that at least Drake listened to one Kendrick song.
Yeah.
He got Duckworth.
Yeah.
To start, man.
He's had more time to digest it.
Yeah, true. It's been out
a lot longer.
It's been out a lot longer.
In this section of the video, by the way, Drake is seen talking to what a lot of people are referring to as the guy with the bandana. Now, there was some buzz about this guy being the father of Drake's illegitimate child that gets kind of like called out later on in Meet the Grahams. This dude, his name is Andy Curnew, and he is like a big business mogul in Toronto. He is Drake's neighbor and throws these parties, which have been called previously Diddy-style parties in Toronto. Justin Bieber's attended them. Drake's attended them. He's just like his neighbor, but he's also a Hell's Angel affiliate.
Yeah.
He had his own struggles with the law throughout the past, and like he was locked up for a long time. That's why there's that like makeshift cell in his backyard. It's a replica made of where he was locked up for years to kind of like remind him. And if you don't know what Hell's Angels are, it's a biker gang, but has like this kind of like, you know, it's a weird public image. They're kind of like against the law, but they also do a lot of charity work, and they kind of like claim that they're a lot better organization than what they're made out to be, but they've been involved in some kind of like what you would consider gang activity.
Yeah, like drug and weapons trafficking and the sale of any illicit thing of all time. And also, I think most famously, they did security for the Rolling Stones in 1969, 1970, and during that time, they killed a guy. They like stabbed a guy at a Rolling Stones show. Mick Jagger spoke out about that, and then the Hells Angels plotted to kill Mick Jagger, all the while doing security for like the Grateful Dead during that time. And so they have this big association, especially in Los Angeles, with like music and culture.
What Drake is trying to illustrate here is that he has security, but then he also has security. Like he's saying, I have affiliation. And so when he calls Kendrick like a fake gangster, this is him trying to say, I'm a real gangster.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that you pointed out is that Howard Hughes.
Yeah, it might be a stretch, but he does have the Howard Hughes line where he says he'll be pooping on them from higher altitudes.
Right.
The biker gang gets their name from Howard Hughes's like name of stuntmen, and all the pilots that were in those movies that he was making back in the 30s, they were called Hells Angels. And then in the 40s during World War II, there's like bombing brigades, U.S. bombers. Some of the most famous ones are Hells Angels that make all these successful runs. And when you say successful, you mean kill a bunch of people. It's fucked up when you talk about war.
Yeah, I feel you.
But then like, you know, New Zealand, shortly after World War II, that's where like the biker gang starts, and now it's like this international thing.
And the posters in Curnew's yard, where Drake is, are of his actual daughter, but they have been there since 2021. They were not planted there. People dug too deep and got the wrong idea about who Drake's potential daughter was, and were like, Drake knew Kendrick was going to say that because of these posters in the backyard, all this stuff. None of that is true. That has been proven false. 2021, there are pictures of Curnew's backyard. Those posters are there. The paperwork hanging up on the cell in the backyard is already there. So this was just Drake trying to send a clear signal that he has affiliations.
Shout out biker gangs.
Drake then says, you're right about fuck the big three. It's only Big D, and there's video proof. Big D being the capital letter in Drake's name, and Big D being that thing he's hoisting in the video.
Yeah, his big floppy cock.
Now this next line I do actually like.
I do too.
It's a weird one, but our son should go play at the park. Two light-skinned kids, that shit would be cute. Unless you don't want to be seen with anyone that isn't blacker than you. He's basically saying like, you have a light-skinned kid, I have a light-skinned kid. He's not actually proposing that they go play at the park. He's just saying, like,
how we're not so different after all.
Yeah.
We get it. We got it. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. He listened to more Kendrick.
Yeah.
That's good.
That one's even longer to digest, though. That's been almost 10 years.
Yep. You put gin in your juice, reference Snoop Dogg, classic West Coast song.
West Coast, yeah.
And then we get it. You think that you're Bishop in Juice, which was the name of Tupac's character in the movie Juice.
Then he starts leveling the domestic violence allegations here, saying when you put your hands on your girl, is that self-defense because she's bigger than you? It's also still somehow a short joke.
I know, that's what is amazing. It's like you're going to hurl like the most serious thing you've thrown really at him yet, but you're still going to call him short.
He also continuously points out the separation between Kendrick and Whitney and Kendrick and his family. You know, that was spoken to a little bit on Mr. Morale. But Drake's way of doing it is just being like, you're in New York living the bachelor life, which is what Drake has done his entire
for 40 years.
Entire life.
Yeah.
So
he does switch the Prince and Mike thing here.
Yeah, he's kind of like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I'm Prince and you're Michael Jackson because you wish you were white.
Yeah.
I don't get that at all.
Yeah. You just also don't get to do that. You don't get to play the reverse card this deep in. You can't be like, no, actually, wait, you're Michael Jackson.
And then just, you know, brags that I get off the plane in LA and nothing has changed as a response to the extortion my middle name.
Did he go there in that time?
I mean, who knows? I don't have a flight tracker for Drake.
Big jumbo jet.
I will say about Drake's plane, an interesting thing that I learned is like Rick Ross kept calling Drake's plane old. And so I was like curious about that. His plane was made in like 1996.
Yeah.
And like Rick Ross has one from 2010. And so it is kind of old.
Planes are like boats, though.
No, I understand that. I'm not like, I don't know anything about buying a plane or a boat. I have a car.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, you know, it is an interesting thing that I was kind of like, Rick Ross has less money than Drake. There's no way his plane's better. And it's like, his plane is better.
Yeah, but Drake's is like a 747 or whatever.
747. No, it was definitely 96, like 1996 or something.
It wasn't that old then?
747 would be old.
I mean, that's like a badass plane then.
I don't even think they had planes then.
You fucking wish, dude.
And then obviously his main crazy bar in this one, kind of like his mic drop moment, is they hired a crisis management team to clean up the fact that you beat on your queen, which is yet to be proven, but is another thing that Kendrick does reference on Mr. Morale. So it's not really as big of like a bomb drop as maybe Drake thought it was.
When it's already been said by the person you're accusing, it's weird.
And Kendrick's not responding to that on any of the songs, which Drake kind of wanted that to happen, I think, to further his argument. But like,
great third part of the song musically. I do enjoy it.
Oh yeah, I think it's like fantastic melody. I think the song's produced well. I think the video is cool.
That's what makes me agree with you. Like, I do think it was, in his mind, the big one.
And I think, honestly, this beef would look completely different if Kendrick had not swallowed up the hype by dropping Meet the Grams. I think if you would let this sit for 2 days, I don't think the beef would even be over right now.
Right.
And yes, there was not as much substance in Family Matters as there were to a lot of the Kendrick songs, but like, there was stuff there to pick through.
Yeah.
There was a narrative there, and it got swallowed up, and that's why the best chess move of the entire thing is dropping Meet the Grams. And I am of the belief that Kendrick does have like 10 songs in the tuck, and I think Meet the Grams is his darkest. He pulled this one out because he thought Family Matters could start narratives that would be bad for Kendrick in this beef. I think he decided like, no, we're dropping the main one. Like, we're dropping the one that is the darkest, the scariest, and has the biggest allegations within it.
I think there's a worse one still.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's something disgusting he's sitting on.
I mean, I think there's more disgusting stuff out there, but I don't know that
I just can't put it past him.
I just don't know if Kendrick ever rapped about that.
This is The Alchemist, though.
And a lot of people were like, The Alchemist produced a diss track. I'm like, dude, this beat was sent to him a while ago, and he used it for this. Yeah. There's no way The Alchemist was like,
I got you.
Hey, let me produce one of those. Let me give you the darkest beat I've ever made, and you can kind of like talk to his family one by one.
Which is what he does, and he starts with the little boy, Adonis.
Yeah, just right away. Sorry that man is your father. I don't know if we have to go lyric for lyric in this one, but there's a big part of me after I heard Meet the Grams that was like, this is too far. I don't know if I feel that way now, just based on like it sat for a second and I feel like I've learned more about the dynamic of all these things and, you know, the potential for some of these things being true. But like, to me, I'm like, who the fuck are you to talk directly to another man's son and be like, let me be your mentor?
Yeah.
Who are you to talk to his mother and say, I think dudes like your son should die? It's very sadistic. It's super sinister.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this song might be a sigil. Like, I'm not ruling it out. Like, there's the vocal samples in there. Like, I think that could be like a tapes of a murder.
You lied about your surgeries.
You lied about your ghostwriters. You lied about religious views.
It's awesome though, and Kendrick's released really unsettling songs in the past, and I know here he's talking about like real people by their names, but there are songs on To Pimp a Butterfly and songs on Damn and songs on Mr. Morale that took me time to really digest, and by the time I came around to it, I was like, you know what? That's a masterpiece.
Yeah, and they're the songs that I go back to the least,
Yeah.
and Meet the Grams is going to be the song I revisit the least out of this.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to hear this song again. I think it's an amazing song, and I think it's really incredible in what it unravels, what it does. A lot of people, I've heard them say it doesn't matter if what Kendrick is saying is true about Drake having an illegitimate daughter because of the chess move of it all and like kind of just using like beef rules to justify, you know, who can lie better, whatever. I don't think that Drake has an illegitimate daughter, or at least one that Kendrick knows about. But I think what he's saying there could still be true in some context, whether that be, you know, future children, whether that be
Future's got hella kids.
Future does have a lot of kids. That's not who I meant. That's
Oh,
not what I meant by that. I mean, like, children he has in the future. I think it's using that narrative to tell another part of the story.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing. And there's Easter eggs in there too, and like theories online about where those Easter eggs come from. All I'll say is, like, this felt impossible to respond to.
It's like the darkest shit of all time.
The moment I heard it, I was like, what does Drake say to this? Drake doesn't have this mood in his bag.
You say sorry. You just say sorry, dog.
He also calls him a sick man with sick thoughts and likens him to Harvey Weinstein.
Yep.
A lot of people think that the way he's saying Aubrey, when he says Dear Aubrey, is him trying to say Aubrey and Harvey at the same time.
Yeah.
So like, Dear Aubrey. And accuses, you know, everybody in OVO basically as being complicit or directly involved in these sick games that he's playing. It's tough to go from keep making me dance, waving my hand, and it won't be no threat, to he's a sick man with sick thoughts. I think dudes like him should die.
Being like, you're such a sexual deviant with so much power that you have a group of people around you that are subservient to your desires, that are sick and twisted, that are hellish.
Yeah, they're facilitating
Yeah.
your darkest fantasies.
Right.
And like, whether that's true or not, whether it's partially true, whether it's completely untrue, it feels material in this song. You can feel it. A lot of people felt that hit in their stomach of like, I tweeted like from the High Mind account, I was like, all right, fun part of the beef is over.
Yep.
Like, for me, I didn't want to read a single thing about this beef for 48 hours. I was forced to when Not Like Us came out, and that felt like it opened it up for Drake to be able to respond again. I almost felt like Kendrick couldn't leave it on this note, but I think on a subject matter level, Drake wasn't ready to take it here.
Yeah.
And this is his downfall. I think he lost the beef right here.
This is the most evil thing I've ever heard. I've heard some evil shit, trust me.
I was gonna say, I've heard sigils and like
but
power
this is
violence.
Yeah, but this is just from the top guy, so it's just so crazy.
Yeah, it is wild to see the best rapper alive go to the depths of hell to make a song.
If you would have told me 2 months ago someone even in the same ballpark as popular as Kendrick Lamar was gonna say to Drake's mother and father that he was a deviant sicko and he should die, I'd be like, what the fuck? No, they're not.
Yeah.
No shot. No one would do that. No one would do that.
It's like Drake smashed a replica Good Kid, Mad City van and said, Kendrick just opened his mouth. Somebody go hand him a Grammy right now. And Kendrick was like, oh yeah? And then screened an interview, a roundtable interview with his entire family where he tells them that he's a pervert and should die.
Yep. Does make you think, as cold and as calculated as Kendrick Lamar is, to go this hard, that's what makes me think that there's more knowledge he still hasn't shared, or like he's got the tip on something that this has to be worth it. Like, you can't go to this extent just to bury him. You know what I mean? Like, just
Kendrick doesn't do that.
No,
you know, Kendrick has disliked this guy for a long time, and I think once he realized there was a greater purpose to this, he did it.
If Kendrick was in a fight and he knocked him out, he's not going to jump over his unconscious body and beat it to a pulp unless he knew that guy actually did something bad to someone else. And that's what this feels like. This feels like him jumping on someone he already knocked out and just walloping on him. Where people are like, oh, he might die. Ooh, that one. Ooh, probably 6 too many there, Kenny. 7. Oh God, this is getting ugly.
When he samples that Teddy Pendergrass song, it's like, you are my latest and greatest inspiration. You know, Kendrick's always said he only raps when he's inspired, and that's why it takes so long for him to drop albums. He's saying, like, you are my greatest inspiration because taking you down is bigger than me. Kendrick doesn't get, like, the battery in his back from petty beef.
No.
We never seen him beef.
Yeah.
He will only do this if it feels like he has to.
And that's what excites me and scares me.
It scares me too, because I don't think it's over, but I think the rapping part is. All right, so that leads us to fun part's back on. The fun part of the beef is back on.
Yes.
This drops less than 24 hours after Meet the Grams and more directly references Family Matters, so this was clearly recorded, at least in part, after Family Matters came out. And it's West Coast, DJ Mustard, and it is, I mean, I think the consensus best, most fun song to listen to from all of this.
Which is crazy with some of the lyrics that are in here.
Yeah, I will just say, like, we're recording this on Tuesday, May 7th. Last night, during the NBA Finals, this song played.
Yeah.
Last night at Dodger Stadium, this played out loud on
Certified
huge...
pedophiles.
Freaky ass guy, he a 69 guy.
Yes.
It is absolutely wild that a Kendrick West Coast DJ Mustard song about Drake being a pedophile
And employing them.
is probably going to go #1 next week on the Hot 100.
Yeah.
If not #2 behind his other song, Euphoria. It is the craziest time in hip hop that I have experienced.
Yeah, I will say, like, he doesn't get to do this juxtaposition without doing the other two. He could have done a West Coast Mustard thing, but it couldn't have been as extreme. And Kendrick has always played with juxtaposition, like in his music, is like the setup for the song that's kind of a hit, but it's about something darker.
Yeah.
And like he did the same thing here, is he set us up, he gave us the most evil song ever, kind of drained it all out of us. And then you're like rejuvenated, the life of the beat comes back, but now he's allowed to say even worse shit inside of this fun dancey beat because he's already set us up.
Yeah, because if he hadn't set us up and just dropped this, we'd be like, okay.
Yeah,
you're saying certified.
Certified pedophile.
Yeah, it would be like, all right, wait a second, wait, tell us what you mean.
Yeah.
Like, what do you, and I do think the other thing that's just kind of like clicking for me right now is like, if he does have this mole, this OVO mole, you know, he says like, they're all saying you deserve it. If that's all true, he is getting the inner workings of how Drake operates. What are we to believe other than what Kendrick has to say here about how this is all operating, and that there are some really dark things at play? The other thing I will say is like, I've always held the belief throughout all of this that we shouldn't believe either of them. We don't know them as people. You can't just be like, oh, well, Drake's public perception is less trustworthy than Kendrick's. We don't know either of them as real people behind any of this. You just have to go off like evidence and evidence. And I will say, if you dig on Drake, there are Twitter threads that I read that is new information to me about his dealings with underage or much younger women throughout time in the music industry. And I don't think that Kendrick is operating without that information too. I'm not saying trust 100%. Drake has done this, or Kendrick's done this. Like, we can only trust what we see actual proof for. What we're talking about is just perception through music. Yeah. So this is just how the beef happened, how it was won, whatever. And I do definitely put a little bit of blame about the discourse on this on people just blindly not trusting Drake and blindly trusting Kendrick to be like, whatever Drake says is untrue, whatever Kendrick says is true. I don't think that's true. I think there are lies and truths told on both sides, but I do think there's more substantial evidence or potential evidence on the Drake side.
There's at least like a long history of discourse related to the types of allegations that are going around. Albeit them much more serious, and like what Kendrick's hinting at is like a functioning like institution of it. That's been hinted at in other things, like most recently the P. Diddy thing that just went on. Like there are other little touchstones in pop culture history that we can reference that's like, oh shit.
You know, like when people say if there's smoke, there's fire. It's like if there are whispers, there are screams.
Yeah.
Generally. With P. Diddy, it's like that had been talked about.
It was like an open secret.
R. Kelly, same thing. That happened for a long time before anything came of it. I'm not trying to liken Drake to any of those people at this current moment because we don't know that. We don't know anything. But I'm saying if you seek out the information, there is stuff that you will find on the internet right now that I have seen that makes me believe that this isn't out of nowhere.
And most importantly, I'm just saying Kendrick knows those other stories just as well as anyone else. And if he can just like toss that name, get it into the same bowl, the same discourse with the public, he's fucked them forever. Like that's such a hard shadow to get off of you. Even if it's just on some petty beef shit, which I don't think it is, because I don't think Kendrick's like that. Getting Drake's name thrown into that discourse is like the worst thing you could do to someone that has the persona that he has.
He always wished he was Michael Jackson. It's like, well,
there you go.
Got your wish, you know? We're early in this, and a lot of people have been saying, like, oh, he'll be fine, like, whatever. I'm like, I don't think so. I think this is going to follow him for the rest of his career.
Yeah, it's a nasty, nasty, nasty thing.
Well, the only other thing I want to mention about Not Like Us is just that section of the song where he talks about Atlanta.
Yeah.
Kendrick kind of goes through Drake's close collaborators from Atlanta and talks about how Drake has used them for his own image and likens that to the way slave owners and colonizers in the past would use townsfolk to make themselves more money. The people in the cities would use townsfolk for cheap labor. I do think that was one of the most like crushing hits to Drake's reputation amongst his peers. Other people would question working with him based on this. And yes, like the Drake cosign has always always meant something, and it was always a trade-off in a lot of people's minds of like, Drake's gonna help you get on the radio, and he's gonna get street cred from you. Rick Ross even called that out in his diss track.
Yeah,
he
gets a
like,
couple slang terms from your bag of words.
Yeah, and he gets to stand next to you, and people think that you rock with them. This person who is cool and has that credit will then stand next to him and then give him more of that credit. And now Drake has the credit on his own. And I think that calls into question a lot of the position that Drake has in the industry. Also has made people kind of analyze Drake's style throughout the years and been like, first you were Big Sean.
Yeah.
Then you were Future. Then you were Young Thug.
Yeah.
Then you were 21 Savage.
For a moment, you were Pop Can.
Yeah.
What the?
You were WizKid.
Yeah.
You were Bad Bunny. You've been all these people throughout the years, and it's like, where's the real Drake within that? And I think Drake is an amalgamation of all those things, and I think there are other artists that if you put them under a microscope like that, they'd be like that too.
Right.
It's just that Drake is the biggest rapper, and Drake has a lot of fuel there. If you want that narrative to exist,
Exactly.
it exists.
Yeah, and he's able to just draw the stark, history lesson, the image here. This is how it was done, and isn't this funny that this guy that we're saying isn't a part of, American hip-hop culture is doing that? And then that just gives everyone, a way to think about it that is automatically in your favor. Crazy stuff. Great song.
I mean, it's a great song. I don't know that it has a huge shelf life, because I think a lot of people are not going to want to hear Certified Pedophiles.
OV-ho.
OV-ho. Okay, that part I will always, I think, yeah.
It's West Coast for life. I'm just kidding. Don't clip that. And into the final nail in the coffin.
How fitting that Drake would nail it in himself.
Yeah, right. I was imagining something like...
I don't think Drake sounds as exhausted on this song as everybody else says he sounds. I
Right.
think his angle is exhausted. Because
Yes.
his angle here is just literally an amalgamation of what everybody was telling him to do. Everybody was like, call it the Heart Part 6. He took your timestamp thing, call it the Heart Part 6. I think that's the best thing he could do is now Kendrick can't without calling to mind this song.
Yeah.
That's why I think if we do get another song by Kendrick, it will be called the Heart Part 6.
Just to cover it back up.
Well, I think he's just going to be like, I need to save that series, so let me write one. I don't think it'll be 100% about this, but maybe about Kendrick himself. He's centered in it, but it's about this whole thing. That would be my theory, is that the only way to salvage that series is going to be calling it The Heart Part 6. Aside from the name, also everybody kept saying the only way to respond to this was timestamp Drake, meaning this type of introspective song. Joe Budden said that too. He was like, stop doing the big hit Drake songs. Don't do push-ups and Family Matters. Rap with him.
Yeah.
He wants you to rap with him. That's the only way you can win this. It proved to not work in this case, but basically just based on what he was saying.
It's just the misinterpretation of Mother I that is that's the worst mistake ever possibly made. And the way he says it too, I feel is actually regrettable for him. With the Mariah Carey line.
Oh yeah, even if that song was about that, it still would have been the worst part of the
Right.
song because he's shaming a victim of abuse.
Which he is still doing.
Right, because
Yeah.
Kendrick is present in a cycle of abuse that he
Right.
talks about on that song, but he is not saying that he got it.
But in Drake's mind, he did, and he still chose to do it. So he just chose the shame. And then it's the misunderstanding of the story that makes it double stupid.
Yeah, and then you make everybody go back to that song that also explains that him and Whitney are probably not together anymore. He also claims that he planted all this information, which is just a Twitter narrative.
Yeah.
And yes, there are some lyrics on the For All the Dogs EP he dropped afterwards where he's just rapping. There are some lyrics on there where he references that sleep medication and Jules, and it does feel like there maybe is something there about how, Drake knew this was coming or whatever that is. I mean, maybe, but I'm saying his reaction to the 11-year-old daughter thing directly after Meet the Grahams came out, it didn't seem like he was had a reverse mole. He didn't have a double agent.
No.
And if he did, then he just went about it in a way that makes it seem like he doesn't, because this makes no sense to just say we made you tell a fake story that wasn't even true because of me and my guys totally got your ass and shit, but also good game and shit. It's
Also,
just
I knew
cool.
you'd bring up Millie Bobby Brown. Wasn't brought up, but
Well, yeah, but Drake's brought up Millie Bobby Brown
I know.
before. I think it's dumb that people are saying that on Twitter because they're like, dude, you're admitting on yourself. You expected an Epstein angle? I'm like, dude, everybody for 10 years has been talking about how Drake likes young girls.
Yeah.
It's it's the whispers. Drake's not stupid. He said, don't come to me talking about no Millie Bobby or we'll really get to flocking on whatever that song is. He said it before. Like, it's not like this is the first time he's mentioned that. It's not like Kendrick had to mention that for Drake to say it.
Right.
So I will say there is some unfairness there because it's like, yeah, everybody took Kendrick's side. It's over. The rap beef is over and Kendrick won. It is yet to be seen what other fallout will come from this, but don't act like Drake told on himself on this song.
No, I'm with you.
He just made a bad response.
He did tell on himself for not being able to understand someone else's lyrics, though.
Totally.
Like I said, too, I don't think that point can go, like, too underspoken. Is like, he thought he understood them, and he thought the right response was to shame them.
Yeah.
And that's, like, actually really, that's fucked up. That is bad.
It really just happens when he's like, I pray you get over both of those incidents.
Yeah.
So the incidents in his mind are him being molested as a child, which didn't happen, and Whitney sleeping with Dave Free and having his kid,
Yeah.
which is unsubstantiated at this point.
Yeah.
So neither of those things really matter because they're both fake or possibly fake incidents.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that says, but you're a piece of shit, so it's no coincidence. Dude, this is crazy. Imagine your friend pretending to try to be a nice guy by being like, oh, listen, I just figured it out. You've got a bunch of trauma. So that's why you're so focused on projecting your shit onto me. And so honestly, I just pray you get better from it. You're also a piece of shit, so it's no coincidence that like bad things happen to you because like you're a fucking dick.
You were born this way.
Yeah,
you were born
shitty. Like, yeah. So when I first listened to it, I was like, come on, it's not as bad as everybody's saying. More I listened to it, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
It is one of the worst responses he could have made.
I think there could be more music to come still. That's where I want to end, kind of right there. Is like, I think it's possible more could come from this.
I'm not saying it's not possible. I highly doubt it. There's a few reasons why. Kendrick started this beef, the Outward beef, with Like That and ended with Not Like Us.
Yeah.
You know,
those are good bookends.
Future's hook. Dudes from the bottom really like that. And then he's not like us. They not like us. It's really telling the whole story here. And I think not like us for many reasons, meaning like not like us from the West Coast, not like us being people who are really a part of hip hop culture. And when I say us, I'm speaking from Kendrick's perspective. Yeah. I'm not saying like, not like me and Kendrick.
West Coast for life.
Right. I am from Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah, they are good bookends, but I still think some more could come out.
Kinda hope not.
Me too. Can we get the scoreboard up?
There's no, for
Kendrick,
them?
Drake. Bing.
Okay, 5-2?
5-2 seems right.
I don't even know how many songs there were at this point, but 5-2 seems right. I think.
Great playing with you, man.
Yeah, you too.
I love it. Actually, I didn't. A lot of this made me sick to my stomach. I think the best thing that could come from it is maybe, you know, we actually learn some hard truths.
It was one of those things that until we got to Meet the Grams, everybody was like, this is so good for the sport. One, it's an art form and not a sport, but I understand when people say that.
Yeah.
It was very good for it. And then for a minute, I was like, oh, this is deeper than all of that. And I think a lot of that is true, but ultimately, I think it will come out the other side with more people wanting to be like Kendrick Lamar or just caring about subject matter of their music in a way that has kind of been eclipsed by style over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Style became kind of more important than subject matter or ability.
Because now we've seen an example that subject matter can trump style.
It won.
Yeah, it wins.
It won this.
Won the day.
It won this beef, and the biggest hit that's going to come out of this is not a Drake song. So
our beef's up next, dude. You and me.
I'm all right. I don't really want to beef with you.
Fuck you. I think people like you should die.
Yeah, see?
Fuck you. Fuck your family.
Yep. See, I'm bringing like a squirt gun to like a missile fight.
I'm going to cut you in half with scissors.
I'm skinny, but I'm not that skinny. That is our take on Kendrick Lamar versus Drake. Sorry it took so long, but you know, we were digesting. We were waiting for the dust to settle. I'm sure I don't have to say this, but leave your thoughts down in the comment section. We've got a Patreon if you want to support us. It's $5 a month. You get extra content, get to be involved in the content in some ways too. We have merch on sale on our website. That's not it. That is West Coast Customs. But other than that, make sure you like the video, subscribe, all that stuff I did not say at the beginning. And Graydon, you want to leave these wonderful people with some advice to live their lives by?
One good loyal friend is worth 1,000 family members.
All right. This has been I'm on TV. We love you, we appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one.
O-V-Ho.
O-V-Ho.
Motherfucker.
No.
Motherfucker, the big three. There's no jokes, nothing fucking even remotely fucking around.
Yeah, no,
This is fucking serious.
I know, it's serious.
It's time for two white guys to voice their opinion, Riley.
I know.
It's fucking go time.
I haven't seen enough white people talking about this beef, and I said, hey,
Ah, shit. Listen up. It's about to get serious.
I think you're more nervous than I am
Let's go.
about how this is going to go.
Not even remotely
It's
nervous.
going to be fine. We talk about music on our channel. People want to hear what we have to say. It's fine.
This is vegan beef.
It doesn't matter if it doesn't.
Okay.
It's totally fine.
It's chill. We can talk about it.
Yeah, if people don't want to listen to us talk about it, they definitely don't have to.
Yeah.
And if they do, they do.
I wish they called it rat pork, not rat beef.
Why?
So I could integrate it into a certain place. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Not really.
It's kind of like my secret island.
We're not doing the secret island stuff.
Got it.
Not allowed to talk about Kendrick being on a secret island.
Got it.
Is that paperwork from my high school?
Yes.
What the hell?
That is your high school diploma. All right, come on.
What? I didn't.
You stay focused.
I never picked that up. Did you pick that
Stay
up for me?
focused.
Another revealing line from that exact song is Future saying, "Can't be about a hoe because we sharing, dog. In your feelings while you playing, dog." And then give her back shots while she laying down, which to me is just funny that that's there.
That's nice.
Well, it's just funny. It's
Yeah.
like, it's funny that it's like he's addressing Drake and then just quickly give her back shot. That rhymes. Give her back shots while she laying down. But